WFAN and WFAN-FM New York.
Aaron Judge, 2 more base hits tonight, 2 for 5, drove in a run. Killer scored in the 7th inning. Yankees scored 2 more in the 8th to get within 1. Couldn't quite break tonight in Baltimore. They fall 4-3. They strike out 15 times, and the runners left on base early. Judge starting each of those stretches. Yankees couldn't break through all by 1. A tough loss for the Yankees, but 2 more to come in Baltimore. Chance to bounce back and win this series. Our player of the game tonight presented by Collars & Co., makers of the dress collar polo. It's collarsandco.com, and it's Tomoyuki Sugano for Baltimore. 5-inning shutout, 1 walk and 8 strikeouts. He answered with 9 strikeouts on the season in 27 innings. Well,
okay.
Against the Yankees. Our next game time, if the Yankees look to bounce back,
let's do it.
Dodge, the best selection of pressure, Dodge Dodge.com, and the Nielsen way. Next game tomorrow night, middle game of 3 at Camden Yards. Game time is 6:35, so we're on the air at 5:55 with our pregame coverage. And until then, for producer engineer in the booth, Matt George, our producer, Paulie Rosenberg, and for Dave Simpson, Susan Wallman, Emmanuel Rivari saying so long. Yankees fall 4-3 in the series opener. They're 17-12 on the season.
Back up in this
in the AL East.
for another KM to AM on the YouTube. They can see me right now. Pull up to the chat.
This has been the Yankees postgame show, powered by Verizon. For a limited time, get their best price ever. Drop into your local Verizon store today to learn more. Also brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the New York Yankees. Serve Pro, like it never even happened. Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Peerless Boilers. Visit peerlessboilers.com for a dealer near you. London menswear brand Charles Tirrett. They make it easy for men to dress well. And by General Plumbing Supply. Trust the real experts. This is WFAN Yankees Radio. To you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico. I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients.
Oh boy.
2% of Eliquis patients. Don't stop taking.
Let's see where we're at here. Let me get into the chat.
Increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away.
E-Man, what's up, bro? I didn't know you were in here. You were in the little spot over there where...
Yeah, right over where Gio sits.
Oh, okay. You were in the other studio. Usually, Ricky Ricardo is in there, but he's obviously in Baltimore.
Yeah. Normally, by the time I'm done, I try to come in here, but you've already started, so I wanted to...
No, it worked out. Good to see you, man.
Yeah. How are you? Good?
Good. Well, you know, gotta do the show.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
But thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. Keep doing your thing. You're killing it, bro. Yeah, I'm back. I don't know. It feels like a long time. Maybe a lot longer for me than you. 888-808-1019. Hit the line one time. I'm feeling fine. Sometimes I can even rhyme. But we're going to talk sports. I got no raps for y'all tonight. The thing is, it is the most wonderful time. It's one of those sports equinox times where, oh my glob, the sports are all sportsing. And if you're like me, and you don't do anything else but watch sports and talk sports and tweet about sports and follow sports Instagrams and TikToks and watch podcasts and YouTube shows and host a show on WFAN, man, I want to talk to you about everything tonight. 888-808-1019. I haven't been on since Thursday night with the NFL draft. Let's table that for now, but I know some of y'all can't wait to hear the young black guy talk about Shadeur Sanders. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to unpack a lot of it, all of it for the most part, because when I was on Thursday, we're sitting there looking at number 9, the Saints, nope. 21, the Steelers, nope. The Giants are trading back into the first round. I knew it wasn't going to be Shadeur Sanders, but did I know it was going to be the 5th round? Now, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Usually when we come off of these baseball games, I say to the victor go the spoils. And I'm in here watching SNY Encore and number 1 in your power rankings. The best team in baseball. The first team to 20 wins. Your Make It Happen Mets. I mean, the rich only get richer, it seems. Should have swept the Nationals. We won't focus so much on that. I mean, it's baseball. It happens. You know, it's a shade of the former Mets, right? The old Mets, the Mets that weren't as rich as these Mets. But it's baseball. It happens. Your bullpen's not going to be Teflon. Errors happen. Mistakes get made. One thing leads to another, and you could just feel it coming, and everybody has one of those. I mean, the Yankees, we'll get to the Yankees in a couple minutes. The Yankees have had a bunch of annoying losses just in the last 2 weeks. 888-808-1019. But today, as I'm listening to Mets Radio 880 for a 4:05 start, I just knew a 4-game set against the Washington Nationals where the Mets end up losing the way that they did on Sunday, that, you know, they were going to come out today and leave no doubt before they got up out of there. So 19 runs scored, and the Mets beat the Nationals 19-5. Everybody gets some. What I'll say about the Mets is, like, so far, very good. If you're a Met fan, what could you be wanting for? The other shoe is not about to drop. There's nothing to panic about. You're now weeks away from even the Juan Soto stuff now from 2 weeks ago. You know, like, you're away from it, where Juan Soto has come around and hit some and done some things. Obviously, there's some people that want to focus on the negative. Ball gets lost up there, and Juan Soto doesn't go for it, and that leads, but whatever, man. He's one guy on the team. But the rich get richer, right? The richest owner in the sport, the highest paid player in the sport. And you don't need the highest paid player in the sport. You got other guys coming back making an immediate impact. Francisco Alvarez, Jeff McNeil. And you've got more players than you really need, honestly. The Mets have more guys contributing than they actually really need. And in a game like today, you see Brandon Nimmo put up 9 RBI. Just pad his stats. He certainly needed it. Mark Vientos hit a homer. He put up 3 ribbies. Good to have Happy Jeff back. Not only can he hit, he can play 3 different positions in a game. So Mets fans, call me up and tell me your complaints. If you want to talk about Edwin Diaz, if you want to talk about Jose Buto, if you want to talk about the bullpen, all I'll say is, listen, like, it could be worse. It's so early in this baseball season, like, just be happy you're first to 20 wins. Just be happy you're in first place. Just be happy that, like, in the power rankings, you're number 1. And right now you could say we're the best team in baseball. And we picked up where we left off last year, being in the NLCS. I just don't think there's anything to complain about when your team gets to 20. And they should have been there sooner. Like I said, they should have swept, but whatever. They end up taking the series. And now you start to look ahead to a matchup back at home, coming back home to face the Diamondbacks, who, you know, the Diamondbacks are interesting. I think they'll be a step up in competition. I do see a lot of Mets haters saying, oh, well, who have they played? Look at the records of the teams they played. You play who you play. You play who's in front of you. And any given day, anybody can beat anybody, which is a segue into the New York Yankees tonight. We'll start with the baseball. We will get to the draft. I love the Giants draft. You don't got to be a Giants fan to recognize they had a hell of a draft. I like the Jets draft too. They still have done a lot of good things quietly, and they're moving. Real G's moving. Silence like lasagna. I see you, AG. But this Yankee game tonight pissed me off for a couple of reasons. And you can lose to anybody. And I say that to say this, like, whenever the Yankees go down to Camden Yards now, it's not like it was back in 2019. You know, you're not going down there and just smacking those guys around. You're not going down there and just having home run derby. They play up for you, and their fans turn up for your arrival. They know you're heading down there. They always schedule this first one, it seems now, like the first week of May, end of April, going into May. Like, the weather gets better, and they know that Yankee fans from all over, many of them from Maryland, are pulling up to see this game, to see this series, and it would, turn up the energy a bit. The Baltimore Orioles are struggling. Like, the Baltimore Orioles had 10 wins. That's their 11th win. The Baltimore Orioles can't get right. The Baltimore Orioles, that was a World Series win for them tonight. They're coming off of 3 straight losses to the Tigers. They're coming off of losing the series to the Nationals. They're coming off of, they haven't started great. As, I'm saying the Mets started great. All of the hopes and dreams of the Orioles with new ownership and what they could do there, they haven't gotten out of the gate so fast. They're not the Orioles that we had to tussle with the last 2 years, but they are, because they're gonna turn up their level of play for the Yankees. And this game pissed me off because obviously it's a young guy on the mound and Will Warren. The Yankees played 2 yesterday in a doubleheader. Say what you want about the non-rain Saturday. They learned from that stupid game we threw away on that Friday night where it was freezing cold rain. It was delayed 30 minutes and Marcus Stroman pissed the game away in the first inning. They learned from that. MLB learned from that. The Yankees learned from that. And I'm sure they had a powwow and said, hey, Saturday, let's not even mess around with it. Sunday looks a lot better. And it's hard to sweep a doubleheader, but the Yankees did. We'll talk about Volpe. We'll talk about Trent Grisham. We'll talk about both of them in the game tonight. And, obviously I haven't been on all weekend. So if there's anything you guys want to talk to me about, Devin Williams, definitely going to talk about Devin Williams because I was in there Friday night. I was in there with the We Want Weaver chants, and I'm definitely going to speak on that. Devin Williams in the Luke Weaver spot tonight. Hold on, let's just go to the things that pissed me off tonight. Young pitcher on the mound. He's going to make mistakes. And the funny thing is, I say this about Will Warren this entire season. He's one of the guys, we know he's a rookie. We know he's got 10 major league starts, whatever it is. We know he's very early in his career, but there's this TWTW, the will to Warren, the will to win when he's on the mound. Another game that arguably the Yankees could have won. They could have come back to win this game, and if they didn't strike out 15 times, right? So, the first thing that bothered me, obviously he's a young guy, and walks are going to kill you, mistakes are going to kill you, and he's going to learn. But then Trent Grisham, man, I remember talking about Trent Grisham and his elite center field defense, and he is very good at center field. But I talked about last year watching him and watching a ball hit his glove that he nonchalantly went after, watching a ball roll up on him and get past him and the runner advance because the nonchalantness is cool until it's not. You feel me? Like the like casual acting like this isn't hard. It plays well, styles well. It looks cool until that ball goes over your head and it's like, come on, bro. And I know that one was, laced. Was it Ramon Laureano, the 9-hitter? That ball was laced over your head, but you could probably have made the play. I don't know. I don't want to say that, but you know what I'm saying? If you watch him play center field and you've watched him, he just is very casual. And how much has he been out at Camden Yards in center field? The former Padre, former Brewer, and a guy that was glued to the bench last year for the Yankees. He misjudged the ball and it went over his head. And you know what? The Baltimore Orioles put up 1 in the second, 3 in the fourth. And Ryan Yarbrough, I've already put out there on Twitter, is this year's Michael Tonkin for me. Michael Tonkin was a guy that I didn't want any part of. When he came through, I'm like, nope. Speaking of the Brewers, remember that game? He landed at 2 in the morning and they pitched him that night because they didn't want to use Clay Holmes because Clay Holmes had thrown 10 pitches the day before, something like that, whatever. Ryan Yarbrough, I understand your worth and your value now. And now that we've gotten a little bit more into the season, good to have you. But these guys can't pick you up. What pissed me off is the approach, the strikeouts. How do you face this guy, Sugano, who had 8 strikeouts? Let me go to my notes. They said he had 8 strikeouts coming into the game. Something low like that. And then, of course, the Yankees, they have this thing where they'll pick a random guy. And I know he's not random. I know he came over from Japan and he's a little bit older and he's got, plenty of experience over there. And the Orioles signed him. But the Yankees have this thing where they'll make anybody look like an ace, yo. They just have, certain nights that they pick where they're swinging out of their shoes, where they can make a guy that is not a strikeout guy look like a freaking ace. So 15 Ks and leaving runners on base, 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position, 9 left on base. You're not going to win a game like that, even when you do rally. Trent Grisham, that was another. Trent Grisham at bat. Bro, you are leading off. Please be mindful that Judge is behind you now when you start leading off. And that's another thing Yankee fans are going to talk about, the leadoff spot. Sometimes it's Ben Rice. It depends on who we're facing. Sometimes it's been Goldie. Like, we're so early in the season, we've already seen a handful of leadoff hitters. Now it seems like Trent Grisham is getting the opportunity to rock there. But all in all, you open up the series with a loss, and it pissed me off because you should have swept your last division opponents. Should have swept Tampa. You should have swept the Blue Jays. And here's another annoying loss where you lose by 1 run. And now you got to bounce back tomorrow and beat the Orioles. But, yeah, that's where I'm at. We'll go through everything baseball-wise. Let me take a call here on the Mets. I got a Mets fan named Alex in Upper Saddle River on the fan. Had to get that one out of there. There it is. Hello, Alex.
Hey, Keith, welcome back. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
I wanted to talk about Mets fans in general and how glorious of a start to the season this was and why there's no room for negativity right now. We're 29 games in. We have the best record in the MLB. We have the best ERA. Big shout out to Mets pitching. They've been doing a lot of heavy lifting for us. Albeit a couple hiccups, but no one's perfect, like you had mentioned earlier in the show. But the results speak for themselves. And Mets fans can say, Soto's not performing up to his contract. You can say that. People have a right to say that. But the results are there. We're 20-9. We have the best record, and we really should have nothing to complain about. So I don't want to hear any Mets fans complaining about it. We should be in good spirits. We have a little bit of a wonky schedule coming up ahead with all the traveling going back and forth. But we should be in a very upbeat, positive mood, and that's what I want to preach to the people out there that are Mets fans. And, we should have a positive outlook because really things are going our way.
Yeah, you got to stack wins, and you are. And you're the first team to 20 wins. You're also the only team left with single-digit losses. What is there to complain about? And I know we all nitpick every single little thing, but this is a great start, and it'll help you when you do have a little bit of a rougher patch. And you know what I believe? There's going to be a rougher patch, but then, Juan Soto is going to be able to win you a game by himself, or, more help is on the way. You get Alvarez back. You get McNeil back. You've got more guys coming back. You're in a great spot to start the season.
Exactly, and they're producing. And, you could say that these past couple of losses to Washington, we should have had those wins because, wins now can mean we're in a better spot come September. Those 2 wins that we could have made an impact later on. But, that's down the road. We should only be thinking, positive thoughts ahead. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I don't want to hear any negativity from Mets fans. Complain about Soto all you want. We're 20-9, best record in MLB.
Mets positivity, exterminating all the negative Mets fans. Didn't Steve Cohen say something like that? Yeah, even Steve Cohen was interviewed about the Mets hiccups, and he said, you got to put it aside. The season started, and I think we lost the first 2 out of 3 games or something, and I was starting to get annoyed, and I said, I got to relax. We've got 159 games left, so I'm trying to look at the big picture. And, you can have games like that during the season. You don't know when, so you just kind of got to roll with it a little bit. And it's funny? I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Mets fan, Knicks fan, and I'm like, bro, you used to be so miserable doing a lot of losing. Now that you got some wins, now that you're used to winning, the winning isn't good enough. You're greedy now. You act like you've been doing this for a long time. I'm like, just enjoy the fact that they're not bums. Just enjoy the fact that it's not misery. It's just not good enough. You can't be satisfied yet. It's like, no, we can't split a series with the Nationals. We should have swept them. Probably should have.
The bar has changed for those teams. That's the difference. Is the Knicks bar is now up since Thibodeau and Brunson, and since last year before Karl-Anthony Towns got here, and with the Mets getting to the NLCS last.
Sure.
Bar rises. It is what it is. It's part of sports fandom. The bar rises when you get better.
Yep, and it's kind of like when you start getting money. It's like you've been broke your whole life and you start getting money, and then you get the taste of some new money, and having when you just want more and more and more. You're like, no, I need it now. 888-808-1019. Let's take a break here, but we'll start with the baseball. Of course, at some point, I'm going to talk about the NFL draft. That Cam Scatterboo. Like, I was thinking to myself, are the Giants fans at MetLife going to say boo for his last name or scat? I think scat would go harder. He's got the scat chain, and you've already got Malik Neighbors with the league, like league scat. That sounds way better than boo, because if you boo, you might be booing for some other reasons. We'll talk about the Giants draft, the Jets draft, and of course, once we get on the other side of 12, club going up on a Tuesday. The Knicks are back in Madison Square Garden, and they have the opportunity to close the series Knicks in 5. We'll talk about the last game, yesterday's game on Sunday, getting out of Detroit with a win barely, and we'll look ahead to this game and what we can expect and kind of get you hyped once Tuesday morning hits for the Knicks getting out of the first round. We don't know what's going to happen in the second round, but at least the first round, they're up, and they've got home court with the opportunity to eliminate the Pistons. 888-808-1019. Let's talk Mets. Let's talk Yankees. I'll start to sprinkle in a little bit of NFL draft, Shadeur Sanders, Jets, Giants, and then definitely going to talk Knicks once we get past 12 a.m. Keith McPherson on the fan. Back on the fan. KM to AM returns right after this. Okay, yo. Now I'm in the chat. Now I'm on break. Can you hear me? See me good? Yeah. Been a minute, but I did do the live on Saturday just because I was like, yo, I don't know when I'm gonna get back on the fan. And I think I was live when Shadeur Sanders got drafted. So a lot of you heard my initial take, but I have collected a ton of information, read a lot of things, looked at a lot of things, and I have a slightly different take, but still pretty much the same, but just layered takes about. There's so many things to unpack. It is such an intriguing story. The NFL never fails with their script writing. Let's go back to the top. What's up? What's up? Big Mets win today. Yeah. It's all good because Giants have a banger draft and we got Cam to AM. I'm going to be listening. Can't stay on the tube from him. Yo, but I appreciate it. YouTube knows you tapped in. That's a view. You're commenting. Make sure you hit the thumbs up like. I should have a banner that says like, if you're on YouTube, hit the, let me see, emoji, boop, boop. Yeah. Now look, I got a banner now. If you're on YouTube, hit the, I like this guy. All right, who else is in here? Tyler, I appreciate you, bro. Have a great night. Love the green. You look nice. Yeah, I'm out here with the Monmouth Park. If you know, you know type, you know. If you know, you know. If you don't know, Google that. Google that. You should know. I think enough people know. You should know. The green Yankee, Forest Green Yankee is always a hit. If you can find one. This is if you really know. Can you see? Bob Baffert, Haskell 2015. Say less. Somebody in the chat that feel me, say what it is. What up, Mo? Appreciate it, fam. You know what else is dope about this hat? Can y'all see the pin? Let's see. All-Star Game pin from Seattle. When you go to Seattle, at least when I went, I took the train. The Uber to the hotel was like $80. I was like, hell no, I guess I'm taking public transit. Their public transit is not like New York at all. I took the air train tram from the airport to the city, and it is all trees. It's forest green. Seattle, the Pacific Northwest is beautiful if you ever get a chance to go. Brunson Burner, Captain Clutch Player of the Year with the cape on. We're going to talk about it later on. We're going to talk about it later tonight. Hector, what up, bro? Yankees are back in action, Keith. Keith, like your combination shirt and hat. Shout out to Monmouth Park. OG from Hoboken. OG knows. You ever been? Hey, Keith, checking the YouTube app. Feel. Yeah. Been doing these lives on YouTube, and I think it's just been a good simulcast. Something I'm slowly building. I'm about to be at 2,000 subs on YouTube. So shout out to the YouTube community. I will get back to making long form content specifically for YouTube, but doing these lives every night is cool too. What do you think happened to Sanders? I've been listening to everyone's opinion on the fan. A caller said he tanked interviews on purpose. Like your opinion on this? I don't think he did it on purpose, but he definitely tanked. I think he misplayed his hand. I think him and his pops. I'm going to speak about all of it for sure. I'm going to try and go step by step. Yeah, what up? That prank, what they did to Shadeur was wrong. Yeah, but these guys get pranked all the time. A lot of them. And after that, it's like a lot of them got pranked. You know? All right, we're back. Okay, let's go. 888-808-1019. Back in action. I'm not about that acting. I'm about that action, dog. Keith McPherson on the fan, KM to AM. When I talk about the sports equinox, unfortunately, like my Devils lost Sunday, but they had a great night Friday. The sports are sportsing, right? Me as a fan, Friday night I was off from the fan, and I was like, okay, do I go to Yankee Stadium to get a hockey jersey, or do I slide to Newark and go see the hockey game? Should have went to Newark to see the hockey game. The regret that I had going to Yankee Stadium and literally getting out of Dodge. Is that a thing? Getting out of Doge, getting out of Dogecoin, getting out of Dodge before Devin Williams blew it. Like, bro, I was out of there so fast. I mean, I saw them on their giddy up. So we'll talk Devin Williams for a second. I saw George Springer and Andres Jimenez on their giddy up running back to back fast. I was sitting in section 121. Shout out to my boy Gabe, who was with me. I was bopping around because, and that's part of why I was so mad. I'll rewind. It's Friday night. It's hockey jersey night. There were thousands of people lined up outside of Yankee Stadium way before first pitch, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Madness. And when it's like that, man, especially for the first big one of the year, over 46,000 plus for a giveaway, weather good enough. The energy and the vibes are just up, man. I was in Billy's bopping. I was outside at Twins bopping. I saw so many people that are just like Yankee Stadium regulars. And so it's like, obviously opening day is a holiday. The first couple series, it was rainy, it was cold. You got to wear hoodies and knit caps. But to be out there in shorts and that many people vibing, it's just a good time. And it's a Friday night. So you expect the Yankees to win. And then we boogie down in the Bronx until they kick us out at, 12-1 in the morning. That didn't go down for me. So, we watched the game and the Yankees take a late lead. And I'm everywhere from 203 to the terrace. Shout out to the Bleacher Creatures Terrace Squad, first and foremost, and always. The people that I run with at the stadium, the people that I know at the stadium, and anybody else that I met or I saw Friday night. Mad love, and it's just good in the Yankee universe to be out there on a Friday night back in our ballpark. Yankees are winning 2-1 lead, and then here comes, can't even call him the Airbender, can't even call him D-Train. Here comes Devin Williams, Mr. Williams, Devin. We'll just call him Devin. And do I have faith that Devin is gonna hold it down with a 1-run lead in the ninth? No, I don't. But I'm a fan. I'm in there watching the game. I'm rooting for the Yankees to win. That's what I wanted more than anything. I wanted the Yankees to win so that we could sing Frank and then walk out of the building into the streets and turn it up from the dugout down to stands. But Devin Williams gives up a hit. Devin Williams hits the next batter, and it is 9:42 p.m. instantaneously, it was like Devin Williams puts the 2 runners on, and I hear, "We want Weaver. We want Weaver." So, me being on the Twitter app, and obviously I know the difference from being on Twitter watching the game and being in the game. I'm like, idiots chanting, "We want Weaver." I was disappointed because as a fan, I'm in there. All right, come on. You all right? Let's get this first out. Hey, let's not blow this. Double play ball, something like, come on, strike the next 3 out. And I look to my right, and it's coming from like a little bit behind the dugout, behind home plate. And it's just disappointing. We eat our own. The greatest rivalry in baseball, Yankee fans versus other Yankee fans. And I get it. You're not wrong. I just think it's idiotic to root against who's on the field. It reminded me, and I think I heard Evan and Tiki earlier trying to figure out a time when it was a little different. But when Trent Grisham was up against the Dodgers in Game 3 of that series in June on Sunday Night Baseball, and there were some Yankee fans that were just so obsessed with Juan Soto, couldn't stop glazing Juan Soto. This man is at bat, and they're chanting, "We want Soto. We want Soto." It's disrespectful. Even Judge, when he hit a homer in that game not long after, he hit the fans with the silencer, with the pipe down. Kind of pushed the air down like, yo, pipe down. So I was disappointed in our fans because I'm like, yo, we're in there to will them to victory. We're in there to root them on. It's almost like you're conceding the loss. We want Weaver. When Luke Weaver wasn't up, Mark Leiter Jr. was up. And he obviously had to come in. But man, it was disappointing. And that blew up on Twitter. But ultimately, I want to win. So was I happy to learn that, hey, the Yankees aren't going to do that anymore. They gave them enough times. It's not the fans, because the fans aren't chanting in Pittsburgh. The fans aren't chanting in Detroit. The fans weren't chanting in Tampa. It's not the fans. It's Devin Williams. He couldn't locate, and he's got to locate. He's got to throw the fastball, and it's got to look like the changeup. He's got to keep these guys off balance and guessing to be effective. He hasn't figured it out. He hasn't gotten his rhythm yet. But you know what? Tonight was a good start. Tonight was a step in the right direction. Now, I had also said, okay, at least we have Luke Weaver, right? At least we have Luke Sky Weaver, Dream Weaver, the Weavy Wonder, the ferocious jungle cat, who, he's so locked and he's done it so many times. And yeah, we saw it last year. And, there's an argument that, hey, he should have never lost the closer's job. Well, he never really had it. He was a Band-Aid for Clay Holmes. And then the Yankees went out and got arguably the best closer in the game, who hasn't had it since shaving his beard, growing his beard back. That's also a part of it, too. There's still so many hardos, make him shave his beard. Yeah, that's going to help. 888-808-1019. I gave him some leeway because he had his first kid. Life is different. You hear that cry in your apartment or your house or wherever he found his place in New York. Your wife is recovering. Your wife is getting back to feeling like her regular self. Things are different. I gave him some leeway for that. Hell, work and playing baseball should be an escape from that. But that time has passed, yo. I gave him some leeway for some of the mistakes. But really, after blowing the Tampa game, I'm like, yo, enough is enough. They gave him another opportunity, which they do, whether it's Zach Britton, whether it's Clay Holmes, whether it's, I don't know, freaking Andrew Heaney. How many pitchers have you seen the Yankees throw out there over and over and over? Hitters, too. Joey Gallo. And we're gonna have the conversation tonight, whether it's Volpe or Jazz or whoever you guys want to make the whipping boy now. But all in all, I was super happy to see Luke Weaver get back in the spot because at least we have the option. And then tonight, I saw Devin Williams pitch in the 8th inning. Effective enough for me. 888-808-1019. When we come back in the 11 o'clock hour, we'll do the big shot of the night. Keith McPherson, your nighttime host on The Fan, will be back right after this. All right, yo. Who should be the big shot of the night? Brandon Nimmo? Weenie Hut General. All right, yeah, I'm going to go Brandon Nimmo. All right, and I'm gonna try and catch up in this chat. Let's see. Let's freaking go. Magic, they're gonna lose to the Celtics in the series. They got one, but let's freaking go, Magic. It's too late to go. Trent might have lost it in the lights, please. Oh, that casual, like sometimes it backfires on you, bro. Just go, like hustle, get to the ball. What happened to Sanders? Hearing all kinds of, yeah, I think I read that. We're gonna get to it. 9 strikeouts, yes. Sugano had 9 strikeouts, and then tonight, what do you have, yo? That's crazy. He had 8 tonight. He came in with 9. That's freaking dumb. It's just dumb. If you ask me, that's plumb dumb, man. These are the freaking New York Yankees. So many cornballs on Twitter, bro. I attract all of them. I attract the biggest freaking losers in the world. Every day I open up my Twitter, I read something that someone says to me. I go to their profile page. I'm like, do I respond to this idiot? I do. And then I usually mute them or mute conversation. And then they say something like that crosses the line and I block them. And I'm just like, what am I even wasting time doing this for? I'm like, oh, well, whatever. Elon Musk sent me $50. But it's fine. Yeah, Hoboken repping. Yeah, we'll do it here. Brandon Nimmo, it's easy. Yankees going to be fine. Devin Williams will be shipshape and shoving by the dog days of August. We got to get his ass right in May. I ain't wait until August. Yankees winning the division, sure. Do you still do Talking Nets? We're going to do one when the lottery hits. Talking Nets will return. But if you think about the Nets, there's not much to talk about. And also, if you think about all the different co-hosts I had, there's no one to really talk with. F the Yankees for eliminating the hair and facial policy. Very disappointed fan since 1975. Why? What did that change in your day and your weeks and your months since? Write me and tell me how your life has been affected by the Yankees eliminating the hair and facial policy, where you say F them. Like, are you boycotting the team? Oh, the same guy also said Michael K is a cancer, so unprofessional. So I'm gonna assume you're not a Yankee fan. I'm gonna assume you don't like the Yankees if it's F them for changing the facial hair policy and Michael K is a cancer. You might as well switch. There's a whole other team in Queens, and they're taking everybody they can get on board. So think about it, consider it. The Orioles, yeah, the Orioles partied like it was game 1 of the World Series. Everything they did tonight, that stadium was lit because they don't have anything. That's their 11th win of the season. They're struggling. Beating the Yankees is their World Series. LFGM, let's go Magic or let's go Mariners. I don't know. We've got to talk about with that. Yeah, Nimmo will be the big shot of the night. Alonso MVP. I don't know if he'll be MVP, but he's been good so far. Devin not the same since that Alonso homer. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying in the streets. You know, they said the Mets haven't been the same since Grimace and Candelita, and Devin Williams was broken by Pete Alonso. That's what I'm hearing on these Twitter streets. What's your expectation? First Yankee versus Mets game at the crib? At least 20 people thrown out. At least 20. At least 20 people like removed from their sections and seats and probably thrown out or brought to the Yankee jail. I actually saw the Yankee jail on Friday for the first time ever. Not the actual like cell, but I saw a police department for the first time ever. I never even came close to that. I've told people for years, like, outside Yankee Stadium is one thing. Once you get in that stadium, I don't care how drunk you are. I don't care what you're on. Do not play in there. This ain't got a spot for your ass, and it's not far. And the court, especially on like a Friday, Saturday, the court is right up the street. So if you commit a crime, break some laws, do something really crazy, yeah, you'll be spending the night right up the street. Don't be dumb. But shout out to the NYPD and their little precinct at Yankee Stadium and the good folks that I met over there. I bet none of them are in this chat, but that was my first time entering and getting to say what's up to those folks. And I had never wanted to go in the past, but I had heard of it in the past. It's nice. It's a police precinct, but it's decorated in all like Yankees stuff, Yankees colors and Yankees logos and memorabilia. All right, here we go. Why did Beatty get sent down? I don't know. They don't like him. Left-handed bat. McNeil is back. I don't know.
Good evening at 11 o'clock. I'm Marco Belletti. Yankees chipped away from 4-0 down, making it a one-run game in the ninth, but unable to get over the hump. Dave Sims, the call right here on the Fan. Ryan O'Hearn, a 3-run shot for Baltimore. There's your difference. Will Warren giving up 4 runs in just 3 1/3. Ryan Yarbrough getting picked him up 3 2/3 scoreless. And Devin Williams, a spotless 8th. This is his first appearance as being demoted from the closer role. Brandon Nimmo tied the Mets franchise record with 9 RBIs, went deep twice, part of a 4-hit day. The Mets pounded out 21 hits in a 19-5 rout of the Nationals. Jeff McNeil with a couple of hits, including his first homer of the season. Looks like he did late last year at the plate in his return so far. Griffin Canning, 5 scoreless. He's now 4-1 on the season. And take a look at the NBA playoffs. The Warriors, a 41-39 lead on the Rockets. Still 5.5 minutes left in the first half. Jimmy Butler is playing. He did get the start. And the Cavs just buried the Heat 138-83. They complete the sweep. 63 degrees, clear skies, Central Park. That's what's happening. I'm Marco Belletti.
Let's see. All right. Big shot. The big shot of the night is brought to you by WFAN and me, Keith McPherson. Bright Lights, Big City. We got a bunch of big shots. Tonight's big shot of the night goes to Finding Nimmo, Brandon Nimmo. He found it today for a Mets record. He went crazy. He tied a franchise record with 9 ribbies. And you guys saw Vientos right before him. And he just smiled like, come on, Mark. Come on. I wanted to get the record. I wanted to. All good. Brandon Nimmo today goes out there, goes 4 for 6 with 2 homers, scores 4 runs, puts up 9 runs, batted, ins. 888-808-1019. Can't pick a Yankee because the Yankees wanted to go down there and, casually just lose to the Baltimore Orioles. Let me see. What happened to my screen here? I had a Mets bullpen call that I was going to go to, and I just lost my call from. It's okay. What? Yeah, I'm like, so sometimes when the calls are, I'm not worried about it, but I kind of in my head, I'm starting to think the order of calls that I'm going to go in. But anyway, I'll sidebar here. As I was doing some of my Mets research, I came across a tweet that made me laugh. So someone on Twitter, I think her name was Jenny, said, the Mets, or Jenna, the Mets bullpen did not blow leads when Brett Beatty was on the team. Makes you think what? And in my chat right now, shout out to Soto22 MVP, great Twitter handle. He says, why did Brett Beatty get sent down? I'm like, it's hilarious to watch these Mets fans right now. Brett Beatty was the whipping boy for y'all. Y'all hated Brett Beatty. You didn't want Brett Beatty around for weeks. He was the quadruple A player that didn't belong. Now, why did Brett Beatty get sent down? Ozokar is worse. Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe because they never loved him. Maybe because he's quadruple A. They wanted him to go back to quadruple A, triple A. They don't need him right now. Left-handed bat, they don't need him right now. They got guys that play his position right now. Jeff McNeil is here. You knew that was coming. You knew if anybody was going to Syracuse, he's got options. You knew he was going. So, yeah, it's funny to hear y'all talk about where's Brett Beatty now. We weren't losing games when Brett Beatty was on the team. And this Mets bullpen, it was not going to be Teflon forever. Nobody's bullpen is. So if you're mad about Jose Buto or Ryan Stanek or even Jose Urania or whatever, it's temporary. It is not the worst thing in the world. And you got the best pitching lab in the world. Yankees fans were telling me, we needed to send Devin Williams to the Mets pitching lab. So whoever wanted to talk about the Mets bullpen, call back. But hey, other than that, I got Yankee calls and some Giants calls and some Knicks calls. But we'll stack them so that as we get closer to midnight, we'll start talking more about the draft and the New York Knicks. First up, Mike out on Long Island on the Fan in New York. What's up, Mike?
How you doing, my guy?
I'm good. Thanks for calling.
No, I just wanted to talk about tonight and Will Warren's struggles and pretty much just the rest of the starters right now. Everyone's looking all right. Max Fried, I know he's pretty much a set ace right now, but we're waiting for Luis Gil to come back, and I'm not really liking what's going on with Will and Carrasco, and it's not looking good. Tonight would have looked bad. That 3-run shot to O'Hearn, I did not like that. He had a whole bunch of walks. I'm happy with that. I know we started coming back late. I think we scored like 2 in like the 8th inning or something like that. We started getting on base, but not a good look for Warren tonight.
Yeah. Too little, too late. Thanks for the call, Mike. Again, Will Warren is a young guy, and he's going to take his lumps. And I'm not expecting him to be an ace. I'm expecting Ryan Yarbrough to be warming up like again tonight. He was, and he was great. And he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn. You can't mess around. A team like the Orioles, they're down right now, but they've got some good young players and some good hitters. You fear potentially, giving up. I'd rather you give up a solo shot to Gunnar Henderson, right? But you end up walking Gunnar Henderson, and it is what it is. 6-pitch at bat. He fouled one off, whatever. Adley Rutschman, right? Another 6-pitch at bat where if you're looking like I'm going back, if you're watching the game, it's like he's kind of nibbling around. He's not throwing them strikes, which to me, I get it. You're a rookie. These are young stars in the game, young all-stars in the game. Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman. You do not want to give up a solo shot to them, but I would rather you do that than to walk both of them. And then Ryan O'Hearn comes up and he takes you deep and it's 4-0. And then the hot mics catch him talking about something. Someone was on the hot mic after he was drinking that water out of that contraption that they have. Michael K wasn't feeling it. And then Adley Rutschman's face looked like we're going to get in trouble. John is in Huntington on the Fan next. What's up, John?
Yeah, what's up, Pete? Yeah, that guy kind of stole my thunder a little bit in an awkward way of saying it, but the Yankees are literally, I think, to be conceding every 5th game with this guy, Warren. I don't care. I sound like every Yankee fan I despise it now. They all want to throw everybody off the team all the time. The first time they go for 4, or they pick the wrong inning. But this guy is literally, I think we've watched anybody else take a shot at losing at this point. You mean they don't have a AAA guy that can take a shot at losing like this guy does?
I don't know. I mean, if anything, maybe you can go opener. Marcus Stroman isn't coming back. He's still, quote unquote, dealing with stuff.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's just because he's a kid, man. He's in over his head. He wasn't.
He has close to 20 walks during this year.
Because he's shook. He's scared to throw it in the zone.
Every game, every start is 4 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikes.
Spring training is over. In spring training, he was throwing it in the zone because it didn't matter, and he had good stuff, and we were all impressed with him. Now we're into the games. There's a lot more pressure. It's a lot for the young guy in his literal first year.
I get it, but listen, we don't call us Carrasco off the dirt, and you know what? He can go out there. I'd rather, it's literally, if Will Warren wins the game, you're gonna go 5-2 that week, or 4-2 if he ever wins.
Yeah, and that's the conundrum, or that's the thing, John. Thanks for the call. If I've said this a bunch, and I'm still, even tonight, they lost by 1 run, and if they didn't strike out so many times, they didn't leave runners on base. Even if he doesn't give up that 3-run bomb, as much as can be desired from Will Warren, and you wish you had a better option in the rotation. He should have been the 6th starter. It should have been Cole. It should have been Fried. It should have been Rodon. It should have been Clark. It should have been Marcus Stroman or Carlos Carrasco. You could argue he's the 7th guy. Like he's depth. We're using depth. And you could argue here with him that we still could have won every game. It's not like he's given the entire game away. In the games that he's battled, we were in. Every single game that Will Warren has been on the mound, the Yankees could have won. Can't say that about Marcus Stroman. And I don't know when you're going to see Marcus Stroman with the knee. And like they're going to slow play because they don't want there to be any shot that he gets to 140 innings, and he won't. Make a move for another pitcher, because you are right. Every fifth day, when it's Will Warren day, it's really Ryan Yarbrough day. Or maybe you figure out a Chad Nestor situation, somebody to be the opener. I don't know. Help is on the way. Jonathan Loizaga is on the way back. Where's JT Brubaker? Where is let me see. I know I had in my notes. Gary Phillips had some notes. Yankees injury updates. Scott Efros is getting ready to throw live. Nothing new on JT Brubaker. Luis Heel felt fine today after starting his throwing program yesterday. Marcus Stroman is still dealing with his knee issue. Jonathan Loizaga is still a few weeks away from joining the team. We'll have to get in back-to-back games before that. Boone doesn't necessarily view him as a one-inning guy, and there are no new plans for Giancarlo Stanton. He stayed back in New York to continue ramping up because Ben Rice has been pretty solid, and no need to rush that. So Stanton will not be back for Giancarlo Stanton Star Wars bobblehead day. Ryan is out in Brooklyn. Ryan, you're next up on the Fan.
Thank you.
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, Keith?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to say that Brandon Nimmo, he really outdid himself today.
He needed it, man. Good. Pad your stats a little bit in one game. Feel good about yourself. Obviously, the Mets need him to perform like that. And, he was a guy that when you were looking at this lineup and you were saying this top 4 or 5 in the lineup, he was a guy that you had up there. You drop him a little lower in the lineup, good things happen.
Yeah, I remember in the winter before Juan Soto got started, people were saying, like, past Lindor, past Vientos, who's that guy? Who can step up? And they were saying Brandon Nimmo, he's got to make a name for himself. And today he really he put up those good numbers.
Yeah, and it was a game you had to have. You had to split that series. You had to bounce back from the loss Sunday. You had to feel good about yourself going back home, and no better way than putting up 19 runs and him tying a Mets record.
Exactly, and I wanted to ask you if the version of McNeil that we've been seeing in the past 2-3 games since he came back from the injury, is this the reason why Jose Iglesias wasn't re-signed? Is because the Mets were sort of hoping that this is what they can get out of McNeil?
Maybe because of the money that they owe to McNeil already in his deal, but I really do believe Stearns when he said he wanted to see these young guys, and look at how much you have gotten to see out of Luis Angel Acuna and Brett Beatty in this early going. I think it was more about the young players than Jeff McNeil. We didn't know we were going to get Happy Jeff. It was, most people were hoping from last year. They started calling him Happy Jeff when he was performing. This is what you want out of McNeil, what he's been right away. But no, I don't think Stearns was looking at that saying, we've already got a veteran guy in McNeil that we're giving money to. We're not going to pay Iglesias. I think more Iglesias, Candelito was such a phenomenon. They were like, that's lightning in a bottle. We can't capture lightning twice.
Right. I understand that. But do you really think that Jose Azocar deserves a spot on the team over Brett Beatty?
I don't know. I would say no. I would say Brett Beatty is more a part of this clubhouse. Juan Soto bought him a nice car. He's been there for some different moments. He's been there for these early on moments, but he's kind of redundant. Like I said, left-handed hitter, and you have Jeff McNeil hitting from the left side, and Brett Beatty plays 2 positions, and you've got multiple guys that can play those 2 positions.
So it's more like it's not necessary is what you're trying to say. And
there's options, and Brett Beatty is used to being in Syracuse and being sent down, and maybe they knew he wouldn't take it, to heart. Like, hey, we can send him down. He's not going to trip.
Right. Okay. And do you think are you worried at all about Ryan Stanek?
No, I just think he was so solid to begin. Like, these bullpen pitchers, for them to all be nails, for Reed Garrett, for Max Kranick, for Edwin Diaz, for Jose Buto, Huascar, for Danny Young was trash, and then he figured it out. But for them to all be perfect every time out, it just does not happen. There's nobody in baseball that can look at their bullpen and be like, yeah, these guys are perfect every time they put up zeros.
Exactly. And they are the closest to zero that they can get.
I was saying they were for a while. I got to go back to Fangraphs. I remember getting ready for a show a couple weeks ago where I was like, they have the best like bullpen and rotation. Their ERA was the lowest in baseball.
Yeah, and those are props to Griffin Canning really stepping up, making a name for himself.
Griffin Canning, he's been getting sick. They got to just keep him healthy, but he has been a revelation. He has been a guy that I've said this on air. We laughed at them signing Griffin Canning, and they're having the last laugh right now because he wasn't that expensive, and he's been really solid.
Right, exactly. And then for some reason, I'm not sure why, if I don't tell like one of my friends who are Yankee fans, like, well, we look at the Mets, there's a 20 wins. They're the best team in the MLB. They'll say, well, Juan Soto is not performing. I don't understand why people think that I'm a Juan Soto fan as opposed to a Mets fan. And then they'll respond with the likes of Aaron Judge, blank, blank, blank. Who gives a damn? The team's doing better. The Mets have 20 wins. The Yankees have, I don't know, 16, 17.
Well, you started off saying you were asking Yankee fans, not just any fans. Thanks for the call, Ryan. Don't ask your Yankee fan friends about the Mets. 888-808-1019, because they're gonna answer that question with what they can poke a hole in. And the guy that was on the Yankees last year, not Clay Holmes, Juan Soto. Every time, and this is gonna go on for a long time, but every time Juan Soto makes a mistake in the field, you're gonna hear it from Yankee fans. Every time Juan Soto is killing worms, grounding out, you're going to hear it from Yankee fans. When Juan Soto goes on his heater where he's hitting home runs and he's winning games and he is throwing guys out at the plate like we saw and has good defense, you won't hear anything from your fellow, New York baseball fans that rep the other side. I do it. I was trolling online like as soon as I was like, hey, send the clip. Anytime Juan Soto has a blooper, send me the clip so we can run it up. But like, if you're a Mets fan, who cares? You shouldn't be so worried what the Yankee fan thinks. Tell the Yankee fan to worry about their own issues. We got plenty of them. There's nothing to worry about. I was at the game Friday. Shout out to my guy, Andrew Levy. He's like, are the Mets really that good? Or are you just hyping them up? I'm like, I'm just giving props. Like, are they really that good? Nobody is that good in the beginning of the season. We don't know anything. But, like, I'm giving credit where credit is due. When you think about the end of the season for the Mets last year and then the offseason they had, and to start this season off, like there are some Mets fans that are overly optimistic and they're floating right now. And don't let anybody steal your joy. Don't let anybody kill your vibe because it's a great feeling to see yourself do what? Stay down until you come up. You're up now. It's a nice feeling to be up now, right? 888-808-1019. Now, can you sustain this feeling? Can the Mets keep winning at this pace? Most likely not. Most likely not. But there are enough things like Sean Manaea coming back, Frankie Montas coming back, you getting Alvarez back, you getting McNeil back, you knowing that Juan Soto's struggles will eventually end, and they might correspond with the weather, right? It might be like there's nothing, I don't know. For the Met fan, I just think there's nothing worth complaining about. You've seen a lot worse. I had in my notes from Mets Muse. The Mets right now have won 18 of their last 25 games. They're 11 games over 500. The best record in baseball, first team to 20 wins. And I added the only team with single-digit wins still. Now you go back home where you don't lose. Now you go back to Citi Field where you have a one loss on your record. Go win another game, another series. 888-808-1019. George is in Mineola on the fan. What's up, George?
Biggest Yankee fan in Mineola.
I thought that was you.
Come on now. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Good to hear you. Good to hear you back on the fan.
All right, good to be here. I got two things. I actually missed the game tonight because I had to work.
Yeah, good job. You didn't miss anything.
You know, it's funny. I was driving home and I was listening to you on the drive home, and I got all I needed to know because I swear, man, you see things the way I do, and all I heard about was strikeouts. But one thing you really hit, that two things I want to tell you though. One thing was when you said Grissom. See, last year, I mean, I didn't want Grissom back this year, because I thought he got way too much playing time last year, and this year he's proven me wrong. Like, the guy came to play this year, and I'm really, really settled in as a Yankee. Great, what? And even though he's smooth as silk out there, when you said, he nonchalant, it's great until he doesn't. Like, oh, I agree so much. Like he's so smooth out there, but hey, sometimes you got to kick it up a notch to go get that ball.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't care about the style points. The style points are cool until you don't make the play, and we're like, you misread that one, bro. Is that because you were styling on him again?
Right, and I didn't even see it yet, but as soon as you said it, I knew exactly what happened.
It was a hard hit ball. He kind of went too much to the right, and next thing you know, it was over his head. But I just think that's because when he's tracking the ball, he's Mr. Cool. When he's tracking the ball, he's like, I got it. He's always very confident. Sometimes you can be overconfident. Camden Yards, they moved the walls back. I said before, I don't know how many games he's played out there with us. Definitely don't remember him being out there much with us. Judge, that's another thing.
Absolutely. The other thing I want to tell you is, I mentioned this to you a while ago. Our mutual friend, Ray Negron. I'm doing my own TV premiere. I wrote my own show. I'm in Bat Boy with Ray, and the whole cast is going to be at this. I'm doing my own, during COVID, I wrote my own TV show. I'm starring in it. I produced it. It's called Jimmy's and Jenny's. It's a Greek diner comedy. It's like Cheers in a Greek diner. It's a sitcom. And I play myself. It's two shows in one. And I play my dad in the 1980s. My dad was my hero. And he's like, hello, how you doing, Mr. Keith? You got a good show. Don't you give Mr. Keith he was just.
So you got a role for me in it? You got a part for me to star in it?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. I actually wrote an episode because I wrote 5 seasons worth of stuff during COVID with my partner, Maytown Angel. Her and I both wrote the show together. It's based on my family. She's one of my best friends. She plays the female lead. So I did write one WFAN episode. I only shot the pilot right now, so we're going to premiere the pilot episode on Tuesday, June.
You reached out to Francesa. You couldn't get Francesa to be in it, so you're gonna go to me.
I got an episode with Joe and Evan before you were on the fan. I wrote an episode because I used to call Joe and Evan all the time years ago, and I spoke to Joe. I told him about it a couple of weeks ago on his morning show. I don't get the call as much as I used to because I'm doing a million things right now. But I want you, and I met Tiki also at a Yankee Met game last year, and he's following me now. So and I told Joe, I want you and Evan.
No, I know.
And Keith, and a couple of guys. I don't care. You can bring some other guys too. I don't mind. It seats 320 people at the theater, and if you come from the city, you can take the Long Island. I might do a city premiere. I'm seeing if I can get a city theater.
Well, George, we're all going. Tell Ray to hit me. Ray texts me like every single day. Whatever you guys need, I'll try my best to do. Thanks for the call. Good to hear from you. 888-808-1019. We're up against the break. That's why I had to rush you off, George. But Ray has my number, and I mean, yeah, we'll all star. We'll get Rosie. Let's get a part for Rosie behind the glass, and it's a go.
Make sure you're serving matzo ball soup at the diner, and I'm there.
Keith McPherson on the fan. We'll be right back. That's funny. Guy just gave us a whole movie pitch on air. But a couple things that I wanted to go back with from the Yankee game today. And I'll note that as we go back. Volpe's birthday. We'll talk about him. Grisham. I'm not even mad at Grisham, bro. It just is what it is, yo. It's just like, it's fine. Where we at, man? I'll be having too many tabs open, bro. Okay, so yeah, things from the game today. Peraza, Cabrera, DJ coming back. Jazz, frustrating at times. And who else? I don't know. Belly, not doing anything. It's good to see Wells get going a little bit. I think that's pretty much it, man. Dominguez 3 Ks. Where do I want to go, man? All right, let me try and clear the chat. 600 people watching. 580 on Twitter. The rest on YouTube. Make sure you guys go to the YouTube channel so you can join the chat and you can do more in that chat. Let's see. Please give a shout out to Shlomo Friedman. I gave a shout out to Soto 22 MVP. Change your name to Shlomo Friedman. Keith, will you be at the game Saturday too? Nah, Friday I plan on going. Saturday I got to be with my wife and my kid, and I refuse to bring my son to the stadium until he grows up a little bit, so probably not. KM to AM. I think the Cubs got fleeced. He said, Cody Bellinger, you can undersell him, but you add another former MVP to the team. Do you still think we fleeced him? His NL MVP was 6 years. Yeah, I do. Who did we send the Cubs for Cody Bellinger? I'll give you a hint. His name was Cody. I'll give you another hint. He's with the team that we're facing now. He's not with the Cubs. So yeah. He also hasn't hit more than 26 home runs since 2019. I think he might be washed. He might be. He's got the back injury. He had the food poisoning, but yeah. You absolutely did fleece the Cubs when they trade away the asset that you sent them. So who won the deal? Cody Bellinger is still playing the outfield. Cody Bellinger did hit a homer on 420, has driven in. Let's see, while we're at the exercise, and maybe I'll use this when we come back to the show because I think this is good. His season has been interrupted. He was hot in spring. I know spring training is not the regular season. He is completely cooled off. Maybe when it gets warmer and he gets more consistent at bats again, he'll come back. Cody Bellinger on this short season has 18 hits, 2 homers, 13 ribbies. Not great. But you got him for Cody Poteet. So we'll put a pin in that one. I'm going to star that one. I'm going to use that on the show, John Nash. You made it to air. Soto is adjusting. Mets fan, not complaining, enjoying the ride. OG from Hoboken. Yeah, bro. It is a big adjustment for him. And he's going to have a moment where he completely breaks out. DJ should stay in Somerset. He's perfect there. He struck out on Thursday night when I was there. 2 times. He can't even beat up on them young kids. Yeah, but they're going to send him, bro. You know they're going to absolutely send DJ when they can because it isn't like Peraza or Cabrera really doing anything to hold him off. So, what's up, referee? I was supposed to go to Somerset on Sunday, but I just wasn't feeling well. Every week I end up getting sick or run down, or it's either allergies or a cold or something. It's from doing this night shift. I don't sleep, yo. And having a kid. Like every night I go to sleep at like 3:34 in the morning and my sleep is interrupted at 6:37 every day, Monday through Friday. I'm not complaining about it because this is a huge platform and I think I'm good at what I do and I like having my show. And for me to have a solo show, it would have to be either this time slot or the overnight. I'm not trying to do the overnight, but something's got to give because I keep breaking down and getting sick. And yeah, I don't know what else to tell you, boss. I don't know what else to tell you. All right, let's get back. Jersey. It's that naughty by nature. Anywho, 888-808-1019. We will get into the Giants draft. We will start to get ready for the Knicks conversation. But let's finish this conversation around the Yankees and the Mets some. And yeah, shout out to my guy Lou Goodman. When I mentioned why'd they send Brett Beatty down, I said he has options. And he replied and he said, yeah, Azokar has no options. Brett Beatty did. So they never loved Brett Beatty. They just were giving him an opportunity. Juan Soto gave him a little Chevy Tahoe. And they sent him back to Syracuse to continue working on his game. He might be good as gone this year. Who knows? He had some moments. I seen him take Zach Wheeler deep last week. I was like, I didn't even know he had it in him. But what do you care? You've got plenty of players and you've got help on the way. And the Mets are the best team in baseball with the best record in baseball. And what can go wrong? Nothing. Just got to keep it up. 888-808-1019. Look at Daniel Murphy down there in Washington, D.C. Shout out to Washington, D.C. They are bringing the Commanders back. Not the Redskins. They're bringing the Commanders back. Yup. RFK. They will actually get out of FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. And they've struck a deal to move back to actual D.C. And or maybe Landover, Virginia. Is it in Virginia or is it in Maryland? I've never been down there. I have no interest because that is one of the worst stadiums in football. It's Landover, Maryland. But anyway, who's a Commanders fan? Al Cintrone. If you want to go down in 5-6 years, they're building up a new stadium. And it seems like they can't do anything wrong. New ownership and all that. $2.7 billion. It's going to be the largest private investment in the history of Washington, D.C. New RFK Stadium features a glass dome and views of the U.S. Capitol. Like, they're going to put a glass dome over that. Wow. Jane Daniels going to be there still. He ain't going anywhere. 888-808-1019. Giants fans, I see you on hold. We're going to talk about Cam Scatterboo. I was literally in my mind, I don't know if I said it on air. You know what? I was on air with C-Mac in here during the Christmas holiday when Arizona State played Texas. And C-Mac was joking, and he was like, no kidding when you say all you do is watch sports, because we're hosting a show and I'm watching the game the whole time. I'm like, yo, I know we're doing a show, but this is an instant classic game. Cam Scatterboo. I should have said it then. I should have said, what if the Giants draft this kid? I didn't think they were going to get him. I didn't think they were going to be crafty enough to get him. So, yeah, we'll talk about that. But here's the finishing touches on the Yankee stuff. I'm going to take my Yankee call. We'll talk Giants, and we'll get you ready for the Knicks conversation coming up. Happy birthday to Anthony Volpe before the day expires. Taurus season is upon us. Judge's birthday was this past weekend. JC Escara before that. Taurus is the bull. Good energy. Shout out to Volpe, man. I bet $20 on Anthony Volpe to hit the first homer of the game in the first doubleheader, and he did. Cash. It's plus 1,700. I bet on him the homer. Cash. I bet on him to have, I think he had 2 hits. I think I might have bet on him to have 3 hits. What I was telling you guys last week is don't throw the kid in the garbage. You're not DFAing him. The Yankees aren't. He brings a lot of value to the team with his glove. His bat will come around. But you know what? He's not going to be Gunnar Henderson. He's not going to be Bobby Witt Jr. He's not going to be Corbin Carroll. Hell, he might not even be C.J. Abrams. All guys that he came up and played with. He might not be those guys. He's still got some work to do and some figuring out to do as he just turned 24 today. But he came through in these last couple. You know what? And we were talking about, he needs a day. I was like, yeah, he needs a day off. Well, he got the day off. He got the day off Thursday when they traveled. He got the day off Saturday with the no rain. It's like we are so ready to discard these guys in the first month. It hadn't even been the first calendar month of the season. Oh, come on, Keith. It's been 3 years. No, it hasn't. It's been 2 years and a month, 2 seasons and a month. I get you guys' frustration with Jazz Chisholm. He is frustrating as hell to watch. He's good and bad. He's entertaining, but at the same time, he pisses you off. He's pissed me off so much already in his early time being a Yankee. From last year, him talking about World Series. We're going to win it. We're winning the World Series. We're bringing a parade back. 28. I'm like, bro, you just got here. You ain't been putting in pain with us. Don't be telling me about what you're going to do. Just go do it. And then now this year, just like some of the strikeouts and just lack of production. And then even some mistakes in the field. Speaking of mistakes in the field, Cabrera and Peraza, they're not holding DJ off. You know, I always say, like, these things work themselves out. Where's DJ LeMahieu going to play? Or who wants to see DJ LeMahieu? Well, it's working itself out. Where's DJ LeMahieu going to play third base as soon as the Yankees feel like he's ready? 888-808-1019. Peraza ain't holding him off. And Cabrera has a little bit of a better batting average and a little bit of a better bat. But, man, him throwing the ball to first base shouldn't be as much of an adventure. You know, he let us down a couple times. He let us down in Tampa with Devin Williams on the mound. We need it to be solid. Dominguez, a young guy, 3 Ks tonight. He's frustrating too. Oh, last but not least, in my live chat right now, I said I would bring this back after the commercial break. Let's see if I can find it. I said, you're a lucky winner. John Nash has a quote from me, I guess from, I don't know. Ryan Chichester writes up these articles. Shout out to Ryan. Not Chichester. Chichester. I cleared that up with Ryan. Ryan Chichester. Must have wrote up an article, and you can Google it. I don't know. Maybe John works for Old Takes Exposed, but this isn't an Old Takes Exposed. He writes in the comments in my YouTube live stream, he goes, I think the Cubs got fleeced, Keith said. Cody Bellinger, you can undersell him, but you had another former MVP to the team. And then John writes, do you still think we fleeced him? His NL MVP was 6 years ago. I know. I watched. I know it was 6 years ago. I know when it was. And yeah, I still think we fleeced him. Who did they get for him? Who did the Cubs get for Cody Bellinger? We swapped Cody for Cody Poteet, and then they traded Cody Poteet away to the team we're facing now. So yes, has Bellinger been MVP? Like hell no. Has he been even good? Not really. But he has played all 3 outfield positions. I mean, he's good for a sac fly. And I'm still giving him some leeway because of the back, because of the food poisoning. His season has been interrupted. But, man, if he could find what he had in spring training when he first got going and was playing every day, maybe he finds it when it warms up. 888-808-1019. Bruce is in Flushing on the Fan. Go for it, Bruce. Right. He's with the Orioles, but he's not even playing. So, like, the value that we got back for Cody Bellinger, yes, we won the deal.
I'll give you 2 pitches in the Yankee minor league system and 1 major league pitcher. Even though I still think we should live with Warren, but I give him 1 or 2 more starts before doing anything. Anyway, let me give you the pitching options. First guy, Brandon Beck, AA. Hasn't given up a run yet this year. 2-0, 15 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts. His whip is 0.42. That's number 1.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of stuff he is. He's a former high draft pick. He's been injured the last couple of years. I think he's a power pitcher. I'm not 100% sure, but he's been doing lights out in AA. Second guy is a guy you know, Cam Shadeur, also AA. 2-1, 1.23, 22 innings pitched, 24 strikeouts, 0.82 whip. And my major league alternative, this is not somebody who's going to strike fears in our hearts like major league batters, but he's a professional. He's having a good year this year in Quintana, the ex-Met. But I believe he's on the Angels, and the Angels not going anyplace. So if you need a positive starter, he would fit the bill.
Yeah, but they're not going to bring him in. They're not going to make that trade and bring him in. They're just going to keep going with what we got. Maybe one of these young guys, but I doubt that. I bet you the Yankees just keep going.
I'm just trying to give you alternatives.
No. And I thank you for the alternatives. I just don't think they're actual alternatives that we're going to see. I just think that it is what it is. It sucks. Every week I'm like, damn, we miss Garrett Cole. Almost so much that I'm like, I'm just going through the motions this year because I'm looking at Max Fried, and thank God for Max Fried, and how valuable is that signing now? How much did we need Fried? I'm going to print the shirts. How much did we need Fried? Like, this guy has been everything, but could you imagine if we had him and Garrett Cole? Like, next year.
I gave the Yankees a high on Shadeur. So, and he's a very confident kind of guy. Rumors that things don't phase him. So if he's doing another couple of weeks, the question is, would the Yankees be willing to bring him up from Double-A, or would they make him prove it in Triple-A first?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're just going to keep going along with what they have, and Marcus Stroman might never return, and you might see just this whole month of May go by, and then Luis Hill is back, and then you can tell Will Warren, "Hey, we appreciate what you did, and keep going there, go down and keep working on your stuff." And Luis Hill come back and return in some type of MVP form. Thanks for the call, Bruce. And I appreciate you guys that keep an eye on the minor leagues, and I just don't. I mean, and I just don't think that they're gonna punch that. And like, if they do, it's for like a spot start. It's not to be in the rotation. The Yankees rotation is the rotation. They have the MVP. Did I say for Hill to get back to MVP? It's late, man. I've been up since 6 a.m. Get back to his rookie of the year form. Judge is the MVP. You have enough other guys in this lineup: Paul Goldschmidt, Ben Rice, Trent Grisham, where like we should be able to get by. We should be able to beat the Orioles with Will Warren on the mound. Was that a T sign, or you want to talk? See, T could be timeout, or T could be talk too. I would assume it's the universe, but you're allowed to just talk. Like, okay, well, so the T was for let's take a timeout. All right, so let's take a quick timeout. When we come back, I'm going to start talking about the G-Men and how I said Joe Shane needs to have a masterful draft to win back the fan base, and I think that mission was accomplished. Keith McPherson on the Fan. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. I'm messing around. I'm like, because I didn't know if it was a. I know you're not sending a T to talk, but you're always welcome to touch the mic. I always remember Craig with like C-Mac and Loogie. If they were not allowed to speak until spoken to. All right, we're about to start talking about the G-Men. Let's see here. Let's see, bro. Bellinger has a $25 million player option for 2026 now. Yeah, and I bet he takes it. And I bet they plan for him to take it. I bet they expect him to do that. He's got a lot more season ahead of him to pick it up. Can he hit some homers? Can he raise his average to 240, 250? I think he can. It'll get hot. And when it's warm, the back will be more limber. He'll be all right. When DJ comes back, Pablo Reyes will be DFA'd. Of course. Certainly don't need him, but not for nothing. I mean, they throw Pablo Reyes in right field. I've never seen them throw Peraza in right field. Keith, my first call to you was when the Knicks did not clinch Game 5 last year. I look forward to it. But, hey, we could be on tomorrow night doing that. I'll talk to you then. The biggest clown on the radio says phase 114 with a smiley face skull. But yet here you are on my YouTube channel. Appreciate that. Also in my comments, appreciate that. And then, if I'm a clown, what are you doing at 11:45 at night watching me and talking to me? You're the clown then, right? Who would be the clown? Do I look like a clown? And it's like, You guys are corny. At this point, if I'm the biggest clown on the radio, what are we talking about? In the country? In New York? At the station? I think we've seen a lot more clownish behavior from others. And I don't think that I end up cracking the top 3 or even 5. I think if anything, I keep it real. If anything, I'm authentic. If anything, I'm one of the cooler ones. I'm a clown. Do I look like a clown to you? I'll beat your ass on the internet, boy. That's the thing about you internet nerds. Always hiding. Nobody can see your phase. What the hell is phase 114? What the hell is that logo? A smiley face and a skull? Sometimes you're happy. Sometimes you're Harvey Dent. It's too many cornballs. This is exactly what I was talking about before. Sometimes I don't even know I'm on the internet talking these cornballs, but it's part of it, bro. It's part of it. It's part of it. You got to engage. You got to engage, but then you always regret it. You try to there's a lot of people online that you try to talk to because like they rock with you. There's people I see consistently online retweeting my stuff, replying to my stuff, liking my stuff. So I talk to them so they know like, yo, we're on the same team. Your team, Keith, I appreciate you. We're on the same team. And then you talk to some haters in between and they do some goofy shit. And you're like, man, I didn't even, why am I wasting my time talking to these people, bro? They make it worse for everybody. These nerds, losers that want to be on like Twitter and be like, this guy sucks. If you're subscribed to his YouTube channel, I was talking to my guy Dalton today. Dalton might be in here. We did a video where I did an Ask Me Anything AMA, and so we took all the questions. It's on here. I'll send you a link. Part 2, right? And this was mostly positive. It was like all love, like people showing me love. So we did that video. But part 2 is going to be all the negativity. So right now we're working on compiling. This is the video in the chat. That link. That's part 1. Ask Me Anything, where people ask me stuff about my life and they're super nice and cool. The second one will be like, is going to be called Don't Ask Me Anything. And just going to be negative hate comments and ridiculous things people say about me on the internet. It's going to be funny. It's like reading mean tweets. Rolling down the street with that gin and juice. I think I was listening to the Met game. I heard Tommy Lugauer reading a commercial for gin and juice. Hey, it's me, Positive Tommy. Gin and juice drinks. No, it was something like that, though. Shout out to Positive Tommy. Shout out to PT. PT will lead us. Because the Knicks have some dudes and dogs. They're going to do damage. They are, though. They are, though. Even though the Knicks fan hates on them, I can't even bet on the Knicks and root for the Knicks without people being like, no, you're a Nets fan. You made fun of us when we were losing. Yeah, but I also was enjoying watching the Timberwolves. I've also been enjoying watching, like, we were just in the chat with Dave talking about the Heat. I knew they didn't stand a chance. Good for them, surviving the play-in with their Heat culture. They didn't stand a chance. I enjoy the playoffs, even playoff hockey. Well, I've really only been watching the Devils, and that's been disappointing, but they're good every year. Oh, yeah. Never seen this. Oh, he's a closer. He's a baller. He can shoot. I remember saying, like, every game is different. It's a series. You're playing the same opponent. Imagine you had to spar with somebody, 7 times, 6 times, 5 times. You're going to fight them the same every single fight? No, you got to try something different, and they're going to get the best of you, and you're going to get the best of them, but ultimately the better fighter is going to win. Bobby's in Belmore. We'll hit this Knicks call, and then we'll probably have to go to the break, but we're going to talk Knicks and Giants coming up. Go for it, Bobby. that is a talking point that I am going to get to when we get later in the night, talking about how you can't cheat the system and you can't have Deion Sanders as your agent. And yeah, Drew Rosenhaus was like, yeah, I can get you signed with anybody. Yeah, you want to go to Tampa, play some football with them? Good. You're signed.
Home run by Lonzo. It looks like he's carried over to this year, and I'd like the Holmes Weaver combination. I told you that. And
it just sucks because every Met fan can say that, but like it has nothing to do with him. Like maybe he just can't pitch in New York. Maybe he just doesn't like all the attention. He's such a mild-mannered guy, but I guess we're just gonna say he hasn't been the same since Pete Alonso broke him. But I'm like, this guy is like, I don't know. He throws 2 pitches. He just got to figure it out, and I think he's on his way to.
Okay, we get to the Knicks. Luckily, Detroit didn't have a challenge at the end of that game, but I mean, what do you think about it? It looks like they're going to play the Celtics. The Celtics look a little banged up, and I think we're going to get a couple of games from the Celtics. I'm not going to say they're going to beat the Celtics
because the Magic beat them.
No, because they're just a little banged. Holiday was hurting, and Brown's got a bad knee, and maybe the Knicks could. I know they haven't beaten them all year, and they could one of those first 2 in Boston. That's going to be the whole series. Right there. I mean, you're going 4 out of 5 against Boston. It's over if it's 2-0. But they're going to have to somehow win one game in Boston if they're going to have any chance in this series.
Thanks for the call, Bobby. We can't act like they just already won the first round. Now, I get it. They're not going to blow a 3-1 lead. Honestly, I think it ends tomorrow night. 888-808-1019. That's JB Bickerstaff not having a challenge late. I told you that the Knicks had the better coach. I think a lot of people were telling you that. Obviously, Tom Thibodeau was going to outcoach J.B. Bickerstaff again. And J.B. Bickerstaff, all that yelling and ranting and raving and all, like, it's funny. What goes around comes around in the series. You liked how they were officiating the series. Fake-ass bad boys. You liked it being physical. And I remember coming in here saying there's a line between being physical, letting them play, and that's a foul. If you see the foul, call the damn foul. There's sometimes, like, I'm watching the game Sunday. My son is in the room. My wife is in the room. My mother-in-law is in the room. And the most animated I'm getting, because I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm a basketball fan, and I'm a FanDuel user. So I got money on Cat to hit 4 or 5 threes, score 20 points. I got money on the Knicks to win. When I started to see the conversation about people like the Detroit Pistons were favored, I'm like, they lost the last game. They lost the first game. Like, anyway. The most animated I was getting was when Cat had the ball and he's trying to make something happen in the paint and they're mauling him. And I'm like, you can't just grab his arms and hit him like that. Those are fouls. Those are like, you got to call the contact. I get it that he's, 7 foot. I get it that he's a big man, but like, call the damn fouls. Like that, I don't know. To me, I'm like, that's egregious. You can't wrestle him. You can't grab him. I'm like, at the end of the game, you could put a highlight reel together. And I thought that, the Knicks might lose because when Brunson went down, I'm like, oh, it's wraps. It's wraps. I'm like, yeah, they better send him back to the locker room, put the cape on, do whatever they do to his ankle. And they did. That's why he's the clutch player of the year. That's why together, the tandem of Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, again, I told you, you have the better players. The Pistons are showing you how inexperienced they are. The Pistons are showing you how, unprepared they are. They should have won that game. That's coaching down the stretch. That's experience down the stretch. That is young players with washed players that nobody wanted down the stretch. That tough guy stuff only gets you so far. 888-808-1019. I'll say good morning on the other side, and I'm going to lead with the conversation around the Giants and their draft. But, hey, it's Tuesday. Club going up on a Tuesday. If you're going to Madison Square Garden, it's like $500 minimum to get in. Might be closing time, Knicks in 5. It's the most wonderful time. Keep McPherson on the fan. BRB. All right, yo. Couple things here. Pop my meds. It's midnight. Got to start taking my meds. Changing my supplements up. Definitely going to take some sleeping pills. That helps too. But I got to drive back to Jersey. It's a half an hour drive. So you don't really want to take the sleeping pills and then operate a vehicle. But that's a risk I'm going to take. I ate tonight before I left around like 9:30. I used to go home and eat at like 2:30. That's not good. I'm trying to be like, you can't see, but underneath, chiseled up. Feel me? You're Nathaniel. What's good, Brody? Levi, keep going. I will, bro. I will, bro. I had this banner that I put up here. Never met a hater, bro. Never met a hater. I meet people, they show me mad love. I'm like, where are all the haters at, bro? Where are all the haters at, bro? Where all y'all live? Only online. Just like a lot of this negativity, a lot of this drama and nonsense with Shadeur Sanders, we're going to talk about before I get out of here. It's only online. It only exists online. It's not reality. A lot of it is made up. The only thing wrong with you is being a Yankee fan. Dang. What you want me to do? Turn the hat around? I can't change. He's got the opportunity to show us. We're going to talk about it. That's going to be probably my 1 o'clock hour talk. And some this hour. But yeah, bro. I have people come at my fandom and I'll say this. When you become a fan of a sports team, if it's not inherited, if your dad didn't literally make you be a fan of the team that him and his dad, like a lot of times it's bandwagon, front runner stuff, it's TV stuff. But I don't know any kids that pick their fandom and say, I'm going to root for this team because one day I'm going to be a host on the radio station that airs the games of these teams. At this radio station, WFAN, the fan in New York, can you name one fan that roots for the Yankees, the Nets, and the Giants? You can't. Because you can't do that. You can't pattern yourself off of like, excuse me, you can't do that. So I know. I'm not being serious when you say it's all love. I know it's a joke. The only thing wrong with you is being a Yankee fan. Like that's actually like that's like one of the best decisions I ever made in life. I couldn't imagine if I didn't. Being a Yankee fan got me in a lot of places, bro. and introduced me to a lot of people. And like honestly, when I started watching baseball and playing baseball, a lot of my cousins and people around me were like, "Why you like baseball? Who told you to do that? Who made you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know. The TV, bro. You see the Yankees, they win a lot. Like, you ever heard of the World Series? Why do you want to play baseball?" I'm like, "I want to play football, basketball, and baseball." But yeah, my bad. If my only flaw is that I'm a Yankee fan, forgive me. But the other teams, that's another thing too. There was a little back and forth on Twitter. This kid was like, "You're a Cowboys fan, Nets fan." I don't even know because these people on Twitter are stupid. But basically, was saying like I'm like, you're not allowed to speak on what goes on in our town. And I'm like, oh, bro, I'm like, this is my 4th year like talking New York sports. And it is not about my fandom. It's about the storylines of the team. And like, I've outgrown my fandom in a lot of regards. The teams that I chose when I was a kid, it doesn't matter. I do not come in here yelling about what the Brooklyn Nets are going to do and, Brooklyn Nets in the lottery. If they were good, then they're worth talking about. Yeah. As far as the Cowboys, I've completely disowned the Dallas Cowboys. We're about to talk Giants now. It's got nothing to do with the Dallas Cowboys, but like, people say what they want.
Good morning at 12 o'clock. I'm Marco Belletti, and this report is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Morristown. Ryan O'Hearn, a 3-run shot. Orioles got to Will Warren for 4 runs and 3 1/3 as the O's hung on for a 4-3 win over the Yankees. Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, each with RBI doubles. Aaron Judge knocked in a run. But Devin Williams hopefully took a step forward from his awful start. Spotless 8th on just 14 pitches in his first outing since being demoted out of the closer's role. Meanwhile, Brandon Nimmo had driven in 12 runs in 104 at-bats coming into the game. With 4 hits, 2 homers, and a franchise-tying record 9 RBIs later, Nimmo led the way as the Mets pound the Nationals 19-5. Mark Vientos, Jeff McNeil each went deep for McNeil, his first on the season, while Griffin Canning fired 5 more scoreless innings for his 4th win. NBA playoffs, the Warriors about to score the Rockets 22-11 in the third. It's a 72-68 lead. Still 4 minutes left in the third. Of course, Golden State looking for a 3-1 series advantage. And the Cavs pound the Heat 138-83 to complete the sweep. 62 degrees, cloudy skies, Central Park. That's what's happening. I'm Marco Belletti. What's the consent?
Good morning, good morning. Uptown, baby. Uptown. All right, we're back on the fan after midnight. It is now April 29th. Go, New York. Go, New York. Go. The New York Knicks have the opportunity to dead that series. 7:30 p.m., Game 5 in the Garden. Take their will early. They're going to be pissed off. They're the Pistons. All right, that joke didn't land. That was like a Sean Morash joke, like a pun. They're gonna be pissed off. They're the Pistons. They've been pissed on. The refs pissed on them. They're gonna be pissed off. Pissed on, pissed off. The Pistons are coming in mad though. They feel like they should have won. They feel like they were robbed. They feel like it was blatant. They feel like they were cheated. The refs did come out and say it should have been a foul. Whatever. So the Knicks can't play with their food here. It can't be like the first 2 games in the Garden where you let them get a lead. You let them really have, belief. You got to come out and put your foot on the throat and end the series. And the Knicks crowd, the Knicks fans will just get louder, louder, stronger, and stronger. And JB Bickerstaff will use up all his challenges. And we'll see what Cade Cunningham is really about. Is he the best player in the series? Stop that. I remember getting on the fan and saying the Knicks have 2 all-star starters. And Cade Cunningham is the best player in the series. What has he done? What has he proven? What playoff battles has he been in? Anyway, I thought it was funny. I was watching the game, and I was half watching the Lakers game. And I thought about JB Bickerstaff not having his challenge late in the game. But Chris Finch of the Timberwolves had his challenge late in the game to challenge that foul on Bron with Ant-Man, and that's coaching. He's a good coach. So it's going to come down to coaching, and, man, all you got to do is win 1 game. So the Knicks got to throw everything at him. If it's not working, if Brunson's got to be a facilitator, facilitate. We've seen him do that. If Brunson's just got to get to the hoop, if he's getting the calls and scoring the buckets, close him out. Do that. The get-in price for Knicks Pistons Game 5 in New York is $423 on TickPick. I saw that this morning, or yesterday. Yesterday morning. It's now Tuesday. It's the most expensive first-round game of the playoffs, and it should be. This is New York. So congrats to you. If you're heading out there, man, you got to do things to get fans to head out there. Look at the Knicks. They made the right trades. They signed the right players. They said to hell with the draft. Well, the Giants couldn't do that. The Giants needed this draft. And my phrase was, okay, last year, you hit on a lot of rookies, Joe Shane, Brian Dable, and company. You know, you got to do it again. You got to do it again. It's got to be back-to-back years. Brandon Brown, forget who else was over there. Hard Knocks. The embarrassment of Hard Knocks. You got to come back from that. You got to come back from, I'm going to lose a lot of sleep if Saquon goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, bam. The Giants have drafted their next great running back from Arizona State. I don't know if he's going to wear number 4, but I know he can score. Cam Scataboo. But I just think the boo is going to be, there's too much booing going on here in New York. I think scat. And he wears the scat chain. I like his game, bro. This is a kid that came out and said he's the best running back in the country. This is a kid that really had to grind to get his respect. This is a kid, like, when they drafted him, the tears in his eyes, people online were saying, oh, this guy's ready to die for the Giants. This guy is going to give everything to the New York Giants. You team him up with Tyrone Tracy, that's a great 1-2 punch. Hell, I'm running Tyrone Tracy early in the game, and then here comes Cam Scataboo. When your legs are getting heavy, when you're getting a little tired, when you don't want to tackle anybody, here comes the bowling ball. Damian in Middletown on the Fan to talk Giants draft first. Thanks for holding, Damian. You got it.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good.
So we're coming back from my mom's funeral. We've had season tickets for 63 years for the Giants. I got my oldest who stayed up with me. We still got an hour 45 left. Do you think that Joe Shane and Dable kept their job for one more year, getting Dart to sit for a year, and having Wilson play? I know you love Cam and Scataboo, but do you think they get another year now?
First off, condolences and prayers up for your family, and thank you for making me and my show and WFAN a part of this night, and calling and waiting, and I appreciate it, and I feel sorry that you had to go through that. I've been there, but like I feel honored that I could bring some light and some joy, and we can talk about the Giants. And yeah, I don't think it's a matter of like saving their job for a year. I think this is John Mara saying, I'm locked in with these guys, and they got to prove it. The first step in proving it is bringing in a certain type of player. Last week I was saying I'm really interested to see the type of caliber player that the Jets bring in, but it's obvious the type of player that the Giants brought in this time around. Like, I think it was Bobby Skinner from Talking Giants, well, now Giants Nation Pod, and he said it. He's like, these guys are a bunch of lunatics. You got Abdul Carter, who asked freak on the field, can't be blocked. He's coming off that edge too fast and too strong. Nobody's stopping him. Once he really gets going and gets his bearings in the NFL, he might be the next like Micah Parsons type.
That's exactly who I think he is.
And you love that because you could have had Micah Parsons so many years ago, and obviously he fell to the Cowboys, but you get a mulligan here with a young guy that's like this kid is from Philly, grew up in Philly. He's a hard-nosed kid. He asked Lawrence Taylor, the first thing he said to Micah, because they're Penn State guys, is like, we got to have a conversation. He had the gall. He had the audacity to ask Lawrence Taylor for 56. You got to be a psychopath doing that. You're going to actually get on the phone with LT, and that's the first thing you ask that man? I'm like, different. This kid is cut from a different cloth. He thinks he's him. He thinks he has the caliber to be Lawrence Taylor. Good. I like that kind of confidence. Come on down. And then trade him back in to get Jackson Dart. He's another one. Jackson Dart.
He's a slinger. And by the way, Joe Shane, his parents live around the corner from my dad down in Calabash. Joe Shane's son's going to start it at my alma mater, Tom Bosco, next year. He's going to be QB.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I did.
Just announced it.
No, I had no idea. I had no idea his son played. I knew his son was a good GM. his son was leaking the Jackson Dart highlight film the day before the draft. But Jackson Dart is a kid who is a competitor. He's a kid who, like you said, is a gunslinger, and he's tough. He runs the ball, and in that Gruden interview, he told Gruden he likes to be +2. Gruden's like, what the hell does that mean? He's like, I'd like to get hit and fall forward, +2, 2 yards. And Gruden's like, are you crazy? Like, in the NFL, you better get your ass out of bounds, or you better get down. He's going to learn, but you know what the biggest thing about him is? He is willing to learn. And we're going to talk about Shadeur Sanders in a minute, but everything I heard about Jackson Dart is in their meetings with the Giants, he aced it compared to Shadeur Sanders. And Brian Dable has been at Alabama. He's been with Josh Allen. He's now been here with the Giants with a bunch of different quarterbacks. He's seen guys that have the physical skills. He said, this kid's got the fastball, which he does. He's got the arm. He's got the athleticism. He's got the moxie, but he's coachable. He will take the coaching. And you know what they're set up to do? Coach him for a whole year. He gets the red shirt for a year with the Giants. On top of all the ties from Ole Miss and him breaking Eli Manning's records, like, they traded back in to get this kid. And I was live on air and I said, you know what? You have to do that. There were some rumors about the Rams wanting him, but you know what? If that's the guy that you locked in on, you can't let anyone else have him. You have to go get him, and you can't rest on your laurels and say, oh, he'll be there tomorrow. You don't know that. We didn't know who would be there. So good on them saying, all right, what the second and conditional third or whatever they gave up, it doesn't matter because we needed to take a swing on a quarterback finally, and finally we found a guy that we felt like was worth taking a swing on.
I agree, and I can't wait to see Neighbors, not this year necessarily, next year, just him throwing the ball up to him.
Yeah, but even this year, with Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, their arm talent, their ability to read defenses and how they throw the ball, it's going to be way above what we saw from Daniel Jones and Drew Lock and Tim Boyle and Tommy DeVito. Like, those guys.
Tommy DeVito's a Bosco guy, though, all right?
Yeah, no disrespect to Tommy DeVito, and I put on for the Jersey guy, and I love the story, but I'm talking about the caliber of NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors is a number one receiver. I look at him as having the ability to be the next Jamar Chase type. Jamar Chase is the best receiver, highest paid receiver, Triple Crown winner, and that's who he looks like. If they can get in some type of rhythm where, they get a rapport and they get the timing down, whether it's him and Russ or him and Jameis, this kid's going to get open. And this is a kid, when you throw him the ball, he doesn't want to go down. He's a game breaker. So I think if you can consistently target him and run the offense through him, and then you have Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scattaboo, and I just think they're going to be able to finally compete. And if the defense can hold them to some points, the offense is going to start to look like an NFL offense where you can steal some games. They had to do this with the strength of schedule that they're going to face. They had to do this with the longest odds. Those odds should change now. Those odds should change a little bit now.
Yeah, I think Jackson Dart will learn from Wilson and from Jameis, being in that room and understanding the NFL culture and how to.
Of course, two pros to watch and see how these guys go about their business and how they prepare. And what I hear about Jackson Dart is he's a first guy in the building, last guy out. That at Ole Miss, they had rules. In college, they have rules. 10:30 p.m., you got to leave. They literally, they're pushing this kid out of the building. Like, you got to go. Like, you can't be here. We got to shut the football facilities down for the night. You got to go to your apartment or go to the library, something. You can't be here. He's a football guy. He's coming from under Lane Kiffin. I know there's so much talk about how they dumb the offense down, but so what? I hate when people act like this stuff is rocket science. Yeah, like he's gonna learn Dable's offense and his system, and there are intangible things that, like, once you know what you're doing, the athleticism comes into play. That takes over. Obviously, first you got to know the mental aspect of it, but you can't teach speed. You can't teach arm strength. You can't teach juking a guy out of his shoes. You can't teach some of those type of things.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. It really did pick us up here in the last hour and a half drive back.
Good, because for the first time in a long time, I'm looking at my friends that are Giants fans. I'm like, you're winning right now. You won the first day of the draft, and I'm going to start talking about now the kids that they added after. It's like, They went out and added a certain kind of player, and that is going to lift the entire locker room. Thanks for the call, guys. Have a good night. Damian, I appreciate it. Again, prayers and condolences to you and your family. I just know what those funeral days and nights are like. It's heavy. It's tough, and you just want to break out of that nightmare, and anything that you can get that brings you some joy and some light in your reality that's not dark like that. I've been there a few times. I don't look forward to the next one. 888-808-1019. I'm trying to find Bobby Skinner's comments, because the way he summed it up about these players on Twitter, it was hilarious, and the tweet went off. And he's obviously a huge Giant guy, and obviously someone that's been covering the team like crazy. He broke off from John Boy Media and Talking Giants, and he started his Giants Nation show, and it just shows you how quickly he was able to build that. I'm like, Talking Giants is this guy. And some inside baseball. I don't know. I think I said this on the Fan. Once upon a time, many moons ago, over 5 years ago, when John Boy Media wasn't what you know of it now, Bobby and I had connected, and we started Talking Nets, the Nets podcast that I ended up, shutting down, but I made it popular and I ran with it and did some things. But man, the first month of episodes were me and Bobby Skinner talking about the Brooklyn Nets. Bobby being a New Jersey Nets fan, me being a New Jersey Nets fan, trying to just start something else. I was doing the Yankee stuff and doing some social media content with John Boy, and Bobby was doing Talking Giants, and we started up Talking Nets. And, him being down in Florida, I forget, we just weren't able to time it up enough. I started really pushing the gas on the Nets podcast under John Boy. He started really putting his foot on the gas for the Giants podcast, and Talking Giants blew up. And I mean, I ended up leaving John Boy in 2021 to come here, and he stayed for all these years building Talking Giants, and they pretty much, gave him an offer that he could 100% refuse, and he left. But I'm happy for him that he's doing well. I can't find the tweet, but I was in touch with Bobby recently. I'm like, bro, I got to bring you on to talk Giants, but I'm not going to ask you to come on at 12:18 a.m. 888-808-1019. But basically, the line that Bobby had was like that these guys are lunatics, talking about, Darius Alexander. If you're a Giants fan and you haven't typed in Darius Alexander yet to look at some of his highlights and how this big man plays, this is a big man that can boogie. This is a guy that when he gets loose on the field, he is different. I don't care that he went to Toledo. Quinyon Mitchell went to Toledo. He is going to be a problem in year one on that defensive line right next to Sexy Dexy. There was a clip of him taking one to the house where I'm like, okay, he can run. I think they were talking about big man moving. He's slippery on the line, pause. But what I mean is for a big fella, he's not stuck in the mud. He's moving pretty well. And that defensive line is already, we haven't even seen them all together. That defensive line of the Giants is already their calling card. That defensive line of the Giants is already their identity. He had a quote. He said, I love taking my opponent's will and just watching them go to the sideline and know what to say to the coach and not know what to say to the coach. When they get beat and the coach is yelling and screaming, what the hell happened on that play? What'd you do? You didn't block number 9. I don't know, coach. He was there, then he wasn't. Coach, I had him, and then he slipped by me. And yeah, Darius Alexander out of Toledo. Big man on the line wearing number 9. I don't know if he's going to wear number 9 with the Giants. I just see him being plugged into that defensive line that already has Dexter Lawrence. In the offseason, added Chauncey Golston. 2 years ago, added Brian Burns. You draft Abdul Carter. Those boys are coming. Those boys are bringing it. Young Ari and Lakewood on the Fan. What up, kid?
Keith, by the way, you have the best show. I want to say I agree on all the picks that the Giants did. I think it's really good. Also, I want to say about the Knicks. I don't know though. I think they're going to win tomorrow, but stupid that they gave up 5 first-round picks for Cal Bridges. He didn't do saying he contributed to the team.
Bro, it was all in theory. Being a Nets fan, when I saw that, and I've told this story 100 times because I told you how I was at the Subway Series. I drove back from the Subway Series. I parked here. I got the notification in my car. I'm like, oh, no way. Because Sean Marks had passed up on trading Mikal Bridges at the deadline. He passed up. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. We'll take anything for this dude. He's not it. But for the Knicks, he was this like last infinity stone. For the Knicks, he was this last Dragon Ball because you were completing the quartet of the Villanova Wildcats. And then you moved on from DiVincenzo, and y'all saw DiVincenzo with the Timberwolves, and y'all saw what Ant-Man said about DiVincenzo, how Ant-Man basically said that he doesn't know what defenses they're running against him, but DiVincenzo always tells him what they're trying to do to stop him.
Yeah, I think the Nets have 4 first-round picks here.
This Nets world will be rebuilt, and sorry, I can't even talk. I've been up since 6 a.m. This Nets world will be rebuilt, and the Nets will be okay again. But it's not their time right now. It's the Knicks' time, and enjoy this time because I don't know how much time they're going to have in the second round. I don't know what it's going to look like against the Celtics.
I'm predicting that the Knicks are going to win by at least 12, and something's going to have at least 35.
You're expecting the Knicks to win by 12 and Brunson to have 35 points in Game 5 tonight?
Yeah.
All the games have been close, though, you know? I don't know. Like, to win by 12, they would have to blow them out, and the Pistons would have to just wave the white flag, and they're not going down. I'm telling you, they're not going down with a fight. Their season's on the line. They're going to be scratching and clawing.
But it's in MSG, and the atmosphere is going to be easy.
Yeah, and MSG is the only place the Pistons have won a game. And during the regular season, they won games there, too.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Nah, but I'm with you. I'm with you, Ari. I think the Knicks win. I just don't see them blowing them out, and I don't think it's easy. New York, big city of dreams, but everything in New York ain't always what it seems. Like, we think it's just gonna be, the guard is gonna be crazy, but it's like these are professional players. They're pissed off about how the last one went. They do have Cade Cunningham. If he turns in another 30, 35-point performance, and they get the whistles and the bounces, I would expect them to get the whistle. You know. I would expect.
I also think he's a little overrated.
I wouldn't say he's overrated, but he's young and like he's not battle tested. And in these moments, he's coming up small, and JB is coming up big. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And it's just showing who the better player in the series obviously is, and the better player overall. There was some stats. I got to go find it out on Twitter while I look for it now.
Also, the Yankees, Judge is hitting like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, but Judge can't do it alone. Judge is Judge. Judge is going to be Judge, especially in the regular season. But he can't do it alone.
Okay, have a good night.
Thanks for the call. 888-808-1019. Yeah, we're going to hit the Shadeur Sanders conversation soon. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm going to hit it because I got to hit it. You got to hear my take on it. Or maybe you don't care to hear my take on it. But I just feel like I have a unique approach to this whole thing. Obviously, a different perspective, not just being black, but being a former quarterback, also being a fan of Shadeur Sanders and Deion Sanders, also having black friends and relatives that are in the quote-unquote black community and having these conversations all weekend where people come to me with things as someone that they feel has more knowledge, and I've done my best to educate people like my mom and friends and cousins on things. And yeah, we'll get to that conversation. 888-808-1019. I still want to stick with the Giants and the Knicks. I already talked about Cam Scatabo. It was Brian Baldinger who's like, they're going to be in MetLife Stadium saying boo. And I'm like, nah, not boo. Not boo. It's got to be scat. Because boo, the Bronx cheer, there's too many people getting booed around here. But I just think this kid, the way that he runs the ball, MetLife Stadium, if you've ever been in there when, like, years ago when the Giants were better, or, just any moment when when that place gets rocking and you can hear the crowd roar build, you need big plays. Malik Neighbors had a few, but like Cam Scatterbo is a guy that once he breaks through that line of scrimmage and runs over a linebacker and puts a step on the safety, and he's off to the races. He's not the fastest guy, but he's got those plays that make people kind of go from, 888-808-1019. Mark is in Brooklyn next on the Fan. Hello, Mark.
Good, Yankees. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for calling.
Let me say, I'm just very, very impressed how Coach Tibbs handled it down the stretch over there in Game 4, giving it to Cat, not so much the heavy load on Brunson.
Yeah, had to. I mean, Brunson wasn't in the game for a little while, and I was a little worried. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, is he out the rest of the game? Are they resting him? What are they doing? Like, but, you know, It was a look, too, where I was like, in my head watching the game, I'm like, yo, if you're trying to go to the hole and it's not working, if you're trying to go to the rack and they keep wrestling you, fouling you, it's not getting called, shoot the J, shoot the three, shoot it. And, man, once he got his touch, once he started seeing the ball go through the hoop, he was clutch at the end. It was exciting. It was one of the more exciting. It's been the best series in this first round.
Yeah, sure. It's the most physical series. You have the refs letting them play. It's like the whole time NBA. It's awesome.
Right. And, like, I mean, we're far from the old-time NBA, but, like, hey, that's why they couldn't cry about the last play. Because, they let them play.
Absolutely not.
So it's like in that moment, you can't call that a foul because you owe them a bunch of fouls. Oh, here's the stat from Tommy Beer. In the 12 clutch minutes played thus far in the Knicks Pistons series, Karl Anthony Towns is 4 of 4 from the floor, 2 of 2 from the three-point range, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Pretty good. For all the people that like were bugging out over the first loss, that stuff doesn't matter. Yeah, and he's gonna because he's a pro and he's a top pick. And it's just like, it's a series. You got to give it time. I remember the first game they lost, people were like, oh, he didn't take a shot. Well, he didn't have the ball. And he's not calling off JB. And he even gives Brunson the love. He's like, I'm just pulling my best JB, my best Jalen Brunson impression. Like, I'm trying to be as clutch as he's been every time for us down the stretch when it's my turn. And he was. That was his turn. I don't know if Mikal Bridges will ever get a turn. And I said it the first game they lost when Bridges got to shoot all them shots. I think he missed 2 threes and he tried to go for a reverse layup that didn't go. I'm like, it shouldn't be Bridges. It's JB or Cat. Those two shooting the ball unless Josh Hart is wide open for a layup or even Hart. How many points do he have? He had like 13 points or something. Like him, like when they leave him wide open for 3, he's got to shoot it. Whether it goes in or not doesn't matter.
Yes, he has to have more confidence for sure. But let me say this. Cat shots weren't the greatest shots. If he would have missed them, he would have got the pay.
It's a make or miss league. That's what they say, Mark. It's a make or miss league. He made the shots. They won by 4. They won by 1, 94-93. Josh Hart had 14.
Yeah, sure. Josh Hart, he's the grit of the team. You know, a lot of people in the regular season are saying, "Where's the grit? Where's the last year's grit?" And
people just, this is New York. Everybody is so hyperbolic, and you ever hear of in a New York minute? Everything is microwaved. Everything has to happen fast, and so we watch them lose one game in the series, and they're not tough enough. This team doesn't have the grit. We're missing last year's team. Cat isn't clutch. JB is hurt. He's compromised. Tibbs is going to be fired. How can he not draw up a play for them at the end of the game?
Yeah, sure. All right.
Thanks for the call, Mark. It sounded like you were saying onto, but it sounded like someone in the distance was saying something. And either way, we got a break. So 888-808-1019. I spoke on the Giants draft. You know, they also have that kid that was like doing his own tattoos, and Marcus Bowe from Purdue to, add to the offensive line, and Corey Black, the cornerback from Oklahoma State. Good draft, but really it's the first 4 picks for me and where they got those players. I think those are players that could all be Pro Bowlers over the, rest of this decade through the next 5 years of the 2020s. 888-808-1019. We'll sprinkle in some Jets conversation. And, of course, I'll give you my full thoughts on Shadeur Sanders. No, I don't think it was collusion. I don't think it was a Colin Kaepernick decision. I don't think it was racism the way people, want to paint it as racism. But I don't think you can take race out of it completely. Keith McPherson on the Fan. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. What's up, please? All right, man. Okay, so we started talking about the Knicks. Clear that. I'll look for any breaking news type stuff. Okay, I was just reading some stuff. Oh, boy. I'm hitting the wall. I'm tired, man. Let me hit this chat. See what y'all said real quick. Shadeur's mid. I saw that. It's all love. I saw that. I love listening to you. Legit New York talk. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it, bro. Good morning, 8. Good morning, Coach. Coach, you keep all kinds of hours. You a night owl. I'm about to hit him with that Shadeur conversation that they don't really want to hear, though, bro. I'm not crying racism. I'm not crying collusion. He misplayed his hand completely. This will be remembered as misplaying your hand in the draft and understanding that, like, you can't really do that. You got to come in humble or be humbled. I'm about to pull up some Damian Harris, the running back that used to play for the Patriots, said something. I'm about to pull it up so I can reference it.
These kids, they have a lot of power, and especially a kid like Shadeur, whose father happens to be Deion Primetime Thunders. Kids hold all of the control and all the power when it comes to college football.
Yeah.
Whenever that starts to
this NIL era
work its way and leak and creep into the NFL, that's when the owners are going to put their foot down. That's when the league is going to put its foot down and say enough is enough.
Let me send this to Fleegs to play. I don't know if I can do that. I updated my MacBook, and it's got this new, like, mirroring thing with the iPhone. I'm not really well versed in it yet. These iPhones and these MacBooks, they update the iOS so much. Damian Harris, Shadeur, NIL clip. Okay, send this to Fleegs and see if there's anything else I want to send to Fleegs. I can do the talking. I don't need clips because I've watched all of these clips. I've read all of this stuff. I can speak on it without playing the clip. This is Mel Kiper.
This is not about can you play the position. This is about do we want you to play the position for us. That's what this game. Why wouldn't they, Lou? Well, look, that's a whole other discussion that we've had in many different ways for weeks and months now. Not one of the toughest quarterbacks. No, This isn't about. This isn't about quarterback traits and quarterback characteristics, personal football. That's not about this. This is about. This is personal. And we know that it's not the field issue. Oh yeah, Mel, you don't have to sell it to me. That's not what we're talking about. You're right. You're right.
And we're back. I was just listening to Mel Kiper yell during the draft. Was Mel Kiper on Dion's payroll? I can't even believe it. I can't believe it. Mel Kiper was going in like he worked for prime time. 888-808-1019. You know, the funniest thing that came out of all of this was like me thinking about Jax Ulbrich and Brick Johnson getting drunk together at some point last year and hanging out talking about how terrible the Jets are. Probably burned one and played Madden. Took a couple of shots, talked about how the Jets didn't stand any chance. Woody Johnson's kid and Jeff Ulbricht's kid. Jeff Ulbricht's kid I had never heard of, but of course we all know him now. How dumb are these kids? We used to prank call people all the time. I used to get prank calls on Friday nights going into a big game, Saturday game, right? You get a prank call from somebody. And prank calls before the draft didn't start with Shadeur Sanders, but Shadeur vlogs everything. You've heard Tiki Barber call Shadeur Sanders or the Sanders family the Kardashians of the football world. They record everything. Bucky, Deion Sanders Jr., the oldest one, his older brother, he's got that camera running at all time. He runs well off forever media. That's what Bucky does. Bucky played at SMU, didn't make it in the NFL. I don't think he was drafted either. But anyway, we're about to unpack the Shadeur conversation, but I'd rather get to some calls because, like, honestly, it's tired, bro. It's played out. You've heard all of these think pieces and everything around it. What I will say before we get into it, and I will unpack all of it, all the layers of it. What I will say before we get into it is this was the NFL script writers at work again. What a sensational film over the weekend. We've never seen a draft this compelling with a storyline that actually kept us locked in. Friday, Saturday. Obviously, the draft was Thursday, but this kept people talking about the come on, and it pulled so many people in. And then eventually it happened. And the way it happened, I just was like, that's kind of weird. But like the TV ratings are completely up. The NFL is king. I clipped this in my notes. The NFL is king. 13.6 million average viewers for round one of the draft. The peak average viewers for the NBA Finals last year was 12.2. And then the sea of people that you saw out there in Green Bay, I remember thinking, who wants to go to Wisconsin? Who the hell wants to go to Green Bay? Well, out there in the Midwest, a lot of them can get there. There were hundreds of thousands of people. It was way more than they even expected. So this was a success. And none of this hurt Shadeur Sanders. Shadeur Sanders is the most popular player in this draft by far. He's got the most followers. He made $6 million in NIL. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Let's keep talking about the Jets soon, because I like what they did quietly again. And I think I sparked up a couple of calls about the Giants in their draft. Let's go to Russ in Norwalk, Connecticut. Russ, you're on the fan.
And Shadeur, just real quick on him. I'm going to talk about the Giants, but just real quick, he does lose a lot of money not being a first round. So I take umbrage to that. I mean, he has talent clearly to be.
That was intentional, I'm not investing money in this kid that's coming in flashing his diamonds. I'm not investing money in this kid that thinks he's already bigger than my franchise. If you want to change the program, if you don't want to change the program, don't get me. You told franchises don't get me. Your dad said that he was going to maneuver his way to get you in the right spot, and everybody passed on you multiple times.
And even the Browns, they took another quarterback.
They took Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel's not better than Shadeur Sanders. They had to double back. They had to spin the block and get him because he kept free falling. The entire league was saying, we don't need you. You need us. I'm going to talk about it.
I know. I want to just mention about the Giants. I'm a longtime Giants Yankees holder. Last year was the first year I didn't even bother going to a game. They lost 10 straight at home, and they lost the 11th game at home, or 11th straight game. They would have had Cam Ward potentially as their quarterback, but they didn't tank. They won the game, and now they got some Bill Carter, which probably might be better than getting Cam Ward, in my opinion. I think he's the difference maker on defense. And as you know, defense wins championships. The chutzpah on out Bill Carter to outseason. So that's a little strange. And then, of course, they get their quarterback. Dave will get his quarterback. So now what I'm trying to get at is all the excuses now for this team and this head coach and this coaching staff are now out of the way. I expect them to compete for a playoff spot this season, Keith. I really do. And if they don't, I think they need to bring in another head coach that can get them, that knows how to win football games and can coach the entire team, not just the quarterback, not just the offense, but the entire team. And I think if Dable were smart, he'd decide to be the head coach and give the offensive coordinator and play calling to the task or to someone else.
Oh yeah, I think he learned from last year. I don't expect to see him trying to call the plays this year. Well, he's got quarterbacks this year that are NFL quarterbacks. Shouldn't be that much of a struggle for Kafka to be upstairs calling the plays. They got it in their helmets.
Not only that, he can't make the excuse for, the players are open and he can't play Daniel Jones anymore.
Yep.
So my point is, in spite of the tougher schedule, all that nonsense, the team is better off both on defense and on offense. And I'm really excited about the running back, the kid from Arizona State that you mentioned. I think he's going to be a special player for the Giants, both with his personality and what he's going to bring. I think that the players are going to save Dable's job this year. That's what's going to happen, I think.
Yeah, they're probably going to play over their expectations. Thanks for the call, Russ. 888-808-1019. They have to. You could argue on paper that this team is better than the team that Dable and Shane inherited from Gettleman. And what did they do with that team the first year? They got to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. The NFL is unpredictable. That's why we watch it. That's why we're fiends for it. That's why fans of all 32 teams showed up to Green Bay. That's why fans of all 32 teams had hope and couldn't wait to see who they did. There's a lot of NFL fans, they don't watch college at all. They don't know these kids. They haven't seen these kids. And they don't know, but they're excited because they're like, hey, it's new talent. It's just hope going into the next year that like maybe one of these guys can help score touchdowns or make some tackles and the team got better. The draft is a competition. I say that so much, and don't let that go over your head, because as people are trying to say that the NFL is colluding against Shadeur Sanders and Deion Sanders, I just can't get jiggy with that, bro. I can't. It is not a Colin Kaepernick situation. And like the further we get away from the Colin Kaepernick situation, how ridiculous is the Colin Kaepernick situation? It's so far in the rear view now, but we can kind of look back at it, and I hope we can laugh. I hope you can laugh at all of this. This is entertainment. Shadeur Sanders didn't get hurt. He's fine. His pockets got hurt a little bit, but you know what? Maybe his ego got hurt a little bit, which you needed that. He needed to be humbled. The chain that he was wearing around his neck on draft night with all of those people around, and then the legendary chair and all this hype around him, you saw the NFL collectively say, you've got a lot of power. You've got a lot of money. Your power and money doesn't work here. Doesn't do anything here. You're powerless. You need us. We don't need you. You showed up to meetings and you were disinterested. You showed up to meetings and you were unprepared. You showed up to meetings and you overplayed your hand. If there's any take that you take away from Keith McPherson talking about Shadeur Sanders, because I like Shadeur and I like Deion and I'm black. So the amount of black people that all of a sudden were watching Colorado football games, right? Because they came from a HBCU, they came from Jackson State. But I've been following all of this the whole time. Follow me, please. Shadeur Sanders has had his dad. He is a Nepo baby. He is a coach's son. His dad got involved because he didn't like the way that his son was getting recruited out of high school. Come on, yo. Dion's gotta chill out. And like it's good, right? Because in the black community, we want to see strong black fathers like LeVar Ball and what he did with his kids. And I think that's why a lot of us, and I'm only speaking for me and some people I know, I could really only speak for myself. I'm sure there's some people listening like I don't care about them at all. But for the black community that celebrated Dion and supported Colorado football and Shadeur and Travis Hunter and even his brother Shiloh, we see Dion go from nothing to something. Must be the money. How did Dion come into the draft? Jerry curl. It looked like it's wet, but it's dry. Chains all around his neck. Said, oh, I'm going to cost the Atlanta Falcons so much, they're going to have to put me on layaway. People saw that in the late 80s, early 90s. Coincidence that full circle, Jeff Ulbrich is the defensive coordinator, hasn't even really started with the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons are the ones that end up leaking the phone number of Dion's son. They drafted Dion's son 5 overall, I think, back in 89. And full circle moment. Your son is getting pranked. They're saying that it's Mickey Loomis from the New Orleans Saints. And how dumb is Jax Ulbrich? He goes to Berry College. I was looking into it. Berry College in Georgia. It's a private school. I don't know what level football they play, but I think he's on the team. He's another Nepo baby coach's son. But like, Dion got involved. Shadeur was going to go to Florida Atlantic. He went to Alabama. He went to, Clemson, and I forget where else I saw Shadeur, maybe Georgia, but like he wasn't getting treated like these 5-star recruits. Please follow me. There were college scouts that saw him in high school and said, he ain't a 5-star. He ain't that good. If he comes here, we're not promising him anything. It's going to have to be earned. Well, you know what? You can cheat the system when your daddy already earned it and did it and has the name. So what does Dion do? Come on, son. You're not going to one of these SEC or ACC schools that might give you a partial scholarship or bring you in as a backup. You're going to play. And I got a place where you're going to play right away. We're going to the SWAC. We're going to Jackson State University. Walter Payton's alma mater. They've been struggling. So much that they could use my celebrity and they can let me do what I want because they need the injection of prime and prime son. And you know what we're even going to do? We're going to get your friend Travis Hunter to not go play for Nick Saban. I was telling y'all last week, I remember Nick Saban being hot. And this is part of the reason Nick Saban started to get up out of there because he's like, with this NIL stuff, this is not what I want to do. But he called out Dion and they had a little back and forth before they were doing those insurance commercials with the duck or whatever are these at Aflac? I don't know. But they had a little back and forth where they were, going at it because Saban said that he gave him $1 million and Dion played the black card and said, I didn't have to give him $1 million. Right? He followed me. It's about us, baby. He came to play for a black coach who has done what he wants to do, right? Played on both sides of the ball. Bet. All right, cool, great. HBCUs, they deserve the love. They deserve the attention. Dion went there for 2 years. I think they went 11-1. I think they lost one of the championships, but won one of the champions. Either way, regardless, they set up this HBCU for success for 2 years, but then they leave. They leave for greener pastures. They go to Colorado where Colorado doesn't have the money to pay Dion. But because of the transfer portal, right? I always tell y'all when I was in school, I transferred from James Madison University to Monmouth University knowing I was going to have to sit out a year. It's just what the NCAA did. If you don't transfer down a league and competition, you got to sit. So because of NIL existing in these recent years, they could do this. Because of the transfer portal and NIL, all of this became possible. None of this would have happened. Shadeur Sanders we might not ever have even gotten close to this. There's so many guys that play in the NFL and their sons don't really make it. They play, but they don't really make it. Like I clipped in my notes. People were thinking Mike Tomlin was going to stick his neck out for Dion. People were thinking Mike Tomlin was going to stick his neck out because he's a black coach in the NFL. His son, Mike Tomlin's son, Dino Tomlin, went to Maryland. He wasn't a star, but he played a little bit. He's invited to rookie camp. Guess who he's going to rookie camp with? Shadeur Sanders in Tampa with the Bucks. Dion's other son that wasn't getting drafted anywhere. I mean, I have collected so much stuff on this, but basically where I'm at right now, Fleegs, let's play. Damian Harris spoke about this so well of where we are. This is unprecedented. It's set up for something we've never seen, and we should have known. I don't know how nobody knew. But, like, the shield is the shield, and this NIL transfer portal era is so new. We still don't know how to react to it. We still don't know how to predict things from it. We still don't know what is real and what is not. And I thought, and this is actually coming from CBS Sports, I thought Damian Harris, former running back from the Patriots, did a great job articulating what we're seeing with Shadeur Sanders, who made $6 million last year. Like, this kid is already rich. He grew up rich, but now he's got a bankroll of millions of dollars of his own. He's in a Gatorade commercial. Like, this guy's got, let's listen to Damian Harris talk about, what we're seeing happening right now in real time.
I think that this is the NFL starting to take a stand on all the changes that we are seeing in the climate of college football. These kids, they have a lot of power, and especially a kid like Shadeur, whose father happens to be Deion Primetime Sanders. Kids hold all of the control and all the power when it comes to college football. Whenever that
of course I have.
transcend and work its way and leak and creep into the NFL, that's when the owners are going to put their foot down. That's when the league is going to put its foot down and say enough is enough. And I think this is the perfect example of it. And unfortunately, it does have to be Shadeur. We can sit here and talk about how great he is as a quarterback, how accurate he is, how he stands in the pocket and delivers the football under pressure. He does a lot of things well. But at the end of the day, this is not about Shadeur's play. This is about the fact that he is the most polarizing, the brightest example of what college football is becoming. And he is going to suffer because of it. He is suffering because of it, because the NFL is looking at him like he's our prime suspect of somebody we can make an example out of and send a message. And that is exactly what the NFL.
They almost had to. I don't know how I didn't see this, because I'm thinking it is as simple as he's a number 2 ranked quarterback. He's a top 40 prospect on most people's boards. Yeah, but it's bigger than that, yo. Tyler Shuck, he doesn't come with any of that. Even a Jackson Dart, he comes through with half of that. He doesn't have the followers. He doesn't have the dad. He doesn't have the media circus around him. He doesn't have the haters. He doesn't have the cars and the fancy watches. And he doesn't come in with the arrogance. I'm going to keep talking about this for the rest of the night, and I hope that what I'm driving home for you is this is unprecedented times, like we've never seen this, but also Shadeur Sanders and Deion Sanders, their camp, they overplayed their hand. And the NFL smacked their hand. Said, no, you're powerless here. You have all that power in college, which used to be amateur sports. And we understand that the amateur sports have now turned into a semi-pro league, but this is the pros. This is the big show. And yeah, you're accurate, but your talent isn't to the level where you could be so cocky and arrogant to, not play at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where like you went to the East-West Shrine Bowl because it's close to where you live in Texas. You didn't go to Alabama to the Senior Bowl to compete. You went and you didn't compete. And part of the whole Shrine Bowl thing is you're supposed to go there and play. You big league them. And when I'm telling you, bro, I've been there in these NFL recruiting circles and college and stuff. Like, nobody is bigger. I don't care if you're the best guy. You got to show up. You got to be humble. You got to be coachable. The money doesn't matter. When you step between those lines, everybody's worth the same amount. It's about what you can do or can't do. And they looked at his film, and he's not a runner. They looked at his film. He's not that big. They looked at his film. He took a ton of sacks. They looked at his film. They said they didn't beat anybody. They didn't win anything. I, as an owner, a GM, or head coach, do not have to put my job on the line for Shadeur Sanders. He's going to bring in a ton of media. He's cheating the system in a way. The system is set up where you're supposed to have an agent. That's what they want. That's the business of the NFL. They don't like it that Lamar Jackson and his mom did his deal. They don't want that happening. Deion is his agent. Deion told him, go in there and be cocky, be confident. You don't got to work out at the combine. Tell him if you don't want to change the culture, don't get me. And Shadeur is not well-spoken enough to even articulate that stuff. It came off forced. They overplayed their hand, man. And it hurts because I am a young black dude that was rooting for them, that wanted to see him go. He said he wanted to be picked higher than his dad, and I believe that it could happen. And this isn't a fail. It doesn't hurt them because all it did was bring more attention to Shadeur Sanders. But it hurts to see all the narratives about racism and collusion and all that stuff. No. If you were following this close enough, you could see. And I've been on this radio station when there have been things that come up with race, whether it's Brian Flores or whether it's Josh Donaldson calling what's his name? Tim Anderson from the White Sox, Jackie, and it's like, bro, I if it's racism, I'll call it straight up racism. But we got to dig deeper, and sometimes people helicopter in with the race card, and they're not fans. They're not sports fans. They don't know all the information. I don't know all the information, but I know a lot of information. So what I'm trying to do is articulate it in the best way that I can. If there's anyone to blame for this fall, it is Shadeur Sanders. It is Deion Sanders. 888-808-1019. Let's take a break here. There's so much more to this story, but it's not a Colin Kaepernick thing. Shame on Stephen A. again. Shame on Stephen A. saying this is collusion. This feels Colin Kaepernick level. No, it doesn't, dude. This is a young kid. He's 23. He's entering the league, and he entered. He got in. There are kids that did not get drafted this weekend. A lot of them. This kid is extremely blessed and fortunate, and you know what? He ends up in a situation where he can win that job. We'll talk about it. There's so much more from it, but I love sports. I love the NFL, and I was riveted. I'm like, the NFL script writers have done it again. This was so compelling all weekend. No touchdowns were scored. No games kicked off. But the NFL is able to steal the show from the NBA playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Major League Baseball. 888-808-1019. Keep McPherson on the fan. I'll be right back. Oh, I have that in my notes, Coach. I'm on the live. Like you talking to me? Caleb Williams literally said whatever team draft him, he wants to talk about having a percentage stake in the team. The Chicago Bears? You think the Chicago Bears entertained that for a millisecond? They did not. That conversation they've never had. It's never been a thing. It didn't stop them from drafting him. But when he was coming out, he talked about wanting to be an owner of whatever franchise drafts him. Shut your ass up. We'll see you in training camp, bro. Let's see if you can play. Let's see if you can play at this level. These are the best of the best. These are the biggest, strongest, fastest guys in the world. Tim Tebow dominated at Florida. When he got to this level, he said, forget it, I'll go try and be a Met. This is the best of the best. We've seen multiple Heisman Trophy winners. I don't care if it's Eric Crouch. I don't care if it's Johnny Manziel. I don't care if it's Robert Griffin. We've seen them come into the NFL and be like, damn, can't do it. Not at the level I was doing it at. So what I'm trying to tell people is when someone drafts you, they have to believe in you 100%. It is a risk. They are putting a contract on you. They're putting money on you. They are bringing you in their building. Shadeur Sanders has nothing, no sexual assaults like some of these guys, no violence like some of these guys, no crimes at all. He's a squeaky clean kid. But what he represents is not something that all 32, and that's another thing. The math isn't mathing. How many teams drafted quarterbacks? Not 10. So it's like, how many teams were in the market to actually draft a quarterback? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, like, I'm not even talking about the lower levels. Like, drafting a Quinn Ewers so he doesn't go undrafted. When like how many teams were actually because like Shadeur isn't in that level. He started to fall on the cusp of like for Kyle McCord to be taken after him. Shadeur was ranked way higher than Kyle McCord. How many quarterbacks were taken with the thought that this quarterback could potentially turn into a starting quarterback in the next couple of years? Maybe 3 or 4 teams were in the market for that. The Titans we knew were number one. I wouldn't even count them. We knew at one they were taking Cam Ward. But it was like the Giants, the Browns, the Saints, maybe the Steelers. So really like 4 teams. And the Steelers took Will Howard late, but they also have some word from Aaron Rodgers. We don't know the full extent of it, but there was a report that like the Steelers had talked to Aaron Rodgers. So if you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Mason Rudolph. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers are confident and they think Aaron Rodgers will be in Pittsburgh. So like knowing that, why would Aaron Rodgers is enough? I'm going to talk about when we get back. I don't have enough hours tonight to do the whole Shadeur Sanders conversation. But I just was trying to pour some water on it. Like even the racism part, I'm going to talk about it next. The whole league is black, bro. Black families, their lives really changed this weekend. Hundreds of them. It's not that lower scale black and white nonsense that people argue about on Twitter and want to go back and forth on. What it is a feeling of like when people are throwing Colin Kaepernick out there, it's ridiculous. What it is a feeling of like, wow, Deion is a Hall of Fame player. This is a black father that brings up his black sons and they are unapologetically black and super successful. And even they get stopped at the door. Even they get, there's a barrier to entry even for the, but it's like they created it. I'm like, they created it. If Shadeur Sanders ran a 4.3, if Shadeur Sanders went to Colorado and they won the national championship, if Shadeur Sanders had the film that said he gets rid of the ball, he doesn't take so many sacks, and like even the completion percentage, I watch the games and I don't knock anybody for completing screens and checkdowns because they're complete. But in the NFL, they're like, that ain't it. But like, that's not translating, bro. Not to wins. That's a minimum. You got to be able to check it down.
Good morning at 1 o'clock. I'm Marco Belletti. Another rough outing for Will Warren. 4 runs, 6 hits over 3 1/3. The big blow. Ryan O'Hearn 3-run shot as the Orioles held off the Yankees 4-3. Now, Ryan Yarbrough saved the pen again. 3 2/3 scoreless. Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, each run scoring doubles. While Devin Williams, hoping he's turned a corner. A perfect 8th, 14 pitches, his first outing since the demotion out of a closer's role. Meanwhile, the Mets dominate the Nationals 19-5. They pound out 21 hits. Brandon Nimmo had 4 of them, including 2 homers, and he tied a franchise record 9 RBIs, as this maybe breaks him out of the rut that he's been in to start the year. Mark Vientos, Jeff McNeil each went deep for McNeil's first of the season. Griffin Canning, 5 more scoreless innings, his 4th win. NBA playoffs, the Warriors held up the Rockets 109-106, take a 3-1 series lead, and the Cavs dismissed the Heat 138-83. They complete the sweep. 61 degrees, clear skies, Central Park. That's what's happening. I'm Marco Belletti.
What? Inside the 1 a.m. hour on the Fan in New York. My last 50 minutes. Got the club going up on a Tuesday. Got your girl in the club and she choosing. Club going up. Keith McPherson on the Fan, Cam to AM. Obviously talking about Shadeur Sanders and the NFL draft. And yeah, the conversation is played out. He's in the league. He's with a team. He's a Brown. He's 4th on the depth chart. We'll see what happens from here. Now he holds the pen. And, I said I was going to talk about it. Joe Flacco is cooked. If you watch Joe Flacco, not as a Jet, if you watch Joe Flacco, not as a Brown winning comeback player of the year 2 years ago, if you watch Joe Flacco last year, the only reason that he even got a chance to play is because Anthony Richardson is a bonehead. And he's hurt. Joe Flacco is done. Here's my quick degrees of separation. When I was getting recruited out of college playing quarterback, I had my second offer from the University of Delaware. John Key went there. Eddie Conti went there. Those are two legends from Ocean Township High School. I thought I was going to follow in their footsteps. Eddie's dad was a coach at my high school. John Key coached me the year we won the state championship. I thought I was going to Newark, Delaware. I went and hung out with Casey Keeler, all that. I ended up meeting with their offensive coordinator, going over some things. And then not long after that, I got sent a message from a forum that, hey, rumor has it Joe Flacco is transferring from Pitt to Delaware because Tyler Palko is going to beat him out for the starting quarterback job. So the new starting quarterback next year at the University of Delaware, which would have been my freshman year, is going to be Joe Flacco. And I said, all right, cool. Well, I'm ducking that. I wanted to go to JMU anyway. 68% girls down there in Harrisonburg. I'm going to go be a Duke. But I already mentioned Pittsburgh University, right? In my town, when that is all going on, I'm being recruited at age 17. There's a 7-year-old kid coming up by the name of Kenny Pickett. And by the time Kenny is 11, I'm 21 and I coach him at the Big Red football camp. Kenny grew up watching me play quarterback at Ocean High School. He would come to Friday Night Lights and watch my varsity games. I started quarterback sophomore, junior, senior year. Kenny goes on to Pittsburgh University and becomes the best quarterback out of there since Dan Marino. Now they're reunited on the Cleveland Browns. They were never united, but there's my connection with both of them. Kenny Pickett played quarterback at my high school. Flacco was at a college that I got recruited by and didn't go to because he was coming there. And then I told the story about Flacco. I was on the sideline at JMU and got to warm up not far from Flacco. And I'm like, this guy's NFL. He's tall, cannon arm. And there was one play where he broke a run up the sideline and he ran past me and I could like feel the wind. I'm like, this guy's a horse. So now that's the Brown quarterback room. But Flacco is done, man. The pride of Audubon, New Jersey. Joe Flacco, if he's 2 years older than me, no, he's not. Exactly. If I was a freshman, he's 40. He's 4 years older than me. So, like, I was coming in and he was about to be on his way out. He's 40, bro. There was a video of Dion at Shadeur's watch party, draft party, where he says, Joe Flacco, who the Browns got? Joe Flacco, he my age. And in my head, and even online, I'm like, Dion shouldn't be saying that. Don't disparage a team that could draft your son. They just decided to bring Joe Flacco back. He's the last quarterback that brought them to the playoffs. You need a place for your kid to land, and that is a legit place. Kenny Pickett, I love Kenny. Shout out to his family. Shout out to all the good folks from Big Red Country where we both grew up. The knock on Kenny in the combine was that his hands were too small. We call him Kenny Two Gloves. Kenny is now on his third team in 3 years. He was drafted by the Steelers. He played and lived his dream and won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, the team he grew up rooting for. But now Kenny is a Brown. I would give him the best shot to start. But Kenny got hurt last year in his brief time getting to start because Jalen Hurts was there. Next thing you know, you see Tanner McKee. Kenny is not that big of a guy. Honestly, he doesn't have a big frame. And then that leads us to Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. He's not a big guy either. He's not a super fast, athletic guy. I think he's a good quarterback. He ended up in the Heisman voting or whatnot. But, like, can Shadeur beat him out? Can Shadeur win the locker room over him? Yeah. Is Shadeur coming in with an Audemars Piguet and a Lamborghini and millions of more followers? Hell yeah. So we'll see. The ball don't lie. When they get on that field, like, there is a chance. And they're the Cleveland Browns. They've made 100 mistakes at quarterback. Like, the fact that they double back, bro, something was up. Something was up because I was live Saturday when this happened. They traded up to get Dylan Gabriel, I believe. Or no, the pick that they took Dylan Gabriel with, I think, came from a trade. But they take Dylan Gabriel, and then their next pick is to take Shadeur Sanders. That don't make any sense. Did the owner say, hey, you got to take him off the board? It's us. Nobody else will? Like, this is getting out of hand now. It's a 5th round pick, 144. Or there were supposedly rumors, right? Because Kyle McCord went right after. There was rumors that the Eagles, like Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman and them, like, they took a 2nd round quarterback in Jalen Hurts, and look what he turned into. They're not afraid of anything. they don't look at Dion and his son and have any fear that he's going to come in and undermine anybody or whatever. Like the Eagles are about to take him. And so the Browns said, all right, we'll punch the ticket. And everybody saw that video. Everybody saw them doing a little, like, not even a golf clap. It was so pathetic, right? It was so pathetic that it just looked like they didn't want to do it. Like, it looked like Andrew Berry was like, oh, here we go with the media circus and the nonsense that we're going to have to deal with bringing this kid in. 888-808-1019. Ralph is in Long Beach on the Fan. Go for it, Ralph. Ralph, are you still with us? Okay, Ralph might have went to bed. Out in California, Tom should be awake because the time zone is different, you know?
Yeah, I sure am awake, man. Thanks for taking the call. Stefanski and Barry are Harvard guys. They're pretty smart, so I think they kind of knew what they were doing on picking Dylan Gabriel. It's more the circus stuff would have happened than taking Shadeur. But it's not about Shadeur. If Dylan Gabriel was 4 inches taller in this year's draft, because it was not that strong, he's a first-round quarterback. Every year leading up to the draft, you hear all this mashuga about what's going on with all the draft picks, but people don't watch the games on Saturdays. You have to watch the games. Dylan Gabriel has the most starts of any college quarterback in the history of the game. His decision-making and playmaking when the games are most crucial is superb. Look at his resume against top competition, what he did in 2023, the game against Dallas, the Red River rivalry game. Watch this guy make plays. You have to watch the games and see how he plays and can you play the position. That's what this comes down to. And he knows how to play the position. So yes, the measurables matter, but so do the intangibles. And this guy has proven it. Shadeur
Yeah, but
proven.
The only knock on him is, and why I think Shadeur can beat him out is Dylan Gabriel had to run. He had to go to 3 different schools. He was beat out in multiple places or had to leave multiple places. Why did he have to move around so much if he had so many of the intangibles and was that guy?
Yes, I can tell you why. Because in Oklahoma, Brett Venables played the wrong card. He went in with Jackson Arnold saying, we don't need you, Dylan Gabriel. We'll take Jackson Arnold. And we know how that worked out. I watch a lot of college football. You got to watch. I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying in general.
No, I'm not claiming to. I'm thinking of some of the games that I saw from him this year. And obviously I know, Bo Nix was there and then he came in this year. So, and Oregon, they're a machine. I'm not claiming that I watch a lot of college football. It's tough to, especially when your job is to talk pro sports. Definitely more when I was younger, but the little bit I saw of him, I'm like, he's not a big guy. He's had to play at 3 different schools. I know he was highly touted coming out, but I'm like, I don't know how his for him to be 5'11" and 200 pounds, I don't know how that's going to fare in the NFL.
I agree. And that's a little bit of a concern. If he was a little bigger, that's why I said in this year's draft, he definitely would have been a first-round pick because he has the intangibles. He also has the starts, and starts matter. Brock Purdy, 49 starts. Bo Nix, 55 starts. Jalen Daniels, 49 starts. It's no surprise that those guys are very successful now that they're at the NFL. They've played in big games. They've played in big stadiums on the road in front of large crowds.
Yeah.
But the move. He started at UCF, so it's not a big school, and then he made a name for himself in other programs.
Yeah. It's funny, Brandon. I actually know Brandon Wimbush's brother, Brandon Wimbush, who was at Notre Dame and then transferred to UCF, and then Dylan Gabriel came in when he went down. No, I'm not trying to knock his. And honestly, I talk a lot about last year's draft class and how quarterbacks need reps, and how when you looked at Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and Jaden Daniels, they had reps at 2 different schools, Power 5 conferences, and look at how that transfers to the league because you've seen so many defenses, you've been in so many situations. Anything that gets thrown at you, for the most part, it's not foreign. You know how to react or what to do or where to go with the ball.
It's very true, and it matters when you get to the NFL. So, and it's not everything, but it's something. And we can look at, you mentioned Anthony Richardson a moment ago. He had 14 starts. It's not a surprise that he's struggling right now to play in the league.
Right.
Jackson Dart, yes, the Giants had a good draft. I think Scadaboo's going to be great, and people in New York are going to love him. But you look at Jackson Dart, he transferred out of USC because he couldn't beat Keaton Slovis, and Keaton Slovis didn't get drafted. So that's something to think about. You look at Jackson Dart's game.
And then he played 3 years at Ole Miss.
Right.
That's a lot. That's a lot of SEC experience, and it does play because you get thrown into these situations in the NFL and you're not swimming in the deep end. You've already swam in pretty deep waters with that experience. No, I hear you with Dylan Gabriel. I won't write him off as Shadeur can automatically beat him out, but there becomes other things, right? Like now we are in the business of this thing. You know, I think somebody called to say that Shadeur lost money. Well, yeah, if he was a first round pick, I think I had a stat, $45 million if he was a top 3 pick. He's going to make $4 million as the 144th pick. That's a much like cost-friendly investment for the Browns to take a $4 million, but there's things that come in. You know, the NFL is advertising his jersey. The NFL is pinning his like the NFL understands his traction online. He's got 2.4 million Instagram followers. So the NFL is playing into that. He's got a ton of fans, not just black people, but like kids. When you go to the NFL on Instagram, I'm putting it on my live right now. The first post is Shadeur Sanders tagged, and Cam Ward is the third. They played Shadeur Sanders highlights during Cam Ward being picked. They barely showed Cam Ward. It was absolutely insane.
No, it's true. It did take over the draft, obviously, and I feel bad for all the other kids who were there to get picked. Like it overshadowed everything. I understand why it's the age that we live in today. I don't like it, but I mean that's just
it just is where we are. Tom, thank you for the call and the insights, and I agree with you as far as like because it's something that I've driven home on the station about. These guys need reps, but Dylan Gabriel's just undersized to me. And I don't know, maybe he picks up the playbook. Maybe he picks up Kevin Stefanski's playbook better than Shadeur. But I just think there are other things in play now that you're in the game. That's what I said about Shadeur. He's fine. Nothing happened to him. He did get drafted. He is in the NFL now. The dream is realized. They just humbled the hell out of him and his entire camp on the way in. 888-808-1019. From the prank calls and, with the prank call with Jax Olbrick. And I just think these kids are stupid nowadays. If you're going to do something like that, why film it? I wouldn't have told anybody. I would have had somebody get the laugh. Like they needed the click stuff. They needed the like stuff. They needed the retweets. They needed people to know we did it. We pulled it off. That's stupid. And, the conversation around like the Giants was that he went into a meeting with Brian Daboll. And of course, he's not blowing off a meeting with the Giants. He did all that signaling. He did all that pretending that, it was a lock that he was going to be a Giant. He had the cleats. He came to New York. He got the white Air Forces with blue and red, laces in them. He went and hung out with Malik Neighbors and all that. But like in the meeting with Brian Daboll, you're entering a meeting with a football savant, an offensive mind for real. If you're not prepared in that setting, you're going to get embarrassed. I've been there. I've been in meetings. I think I told this on my live on Saturday. I remember it snapped me back into reality that like, yo, you're here as a student athlete. You're on scholarship. I was third string quarterback. First year we were playing UNC. I go into a quarterbacks only meeting the day before we travel to UNC. And my coach is on the whiteboard drawing up what defense UNC runs, Chapel Hill. And I'm thinking, I'm a third string. Why do I need to know this stuff? He gave me the DVD a couple days ago to watch on my own, gave me a little pamphlet. I glanced at it, but I didn't really know it. And he starts getting deep into like what we're going to run on third down, what formation, how are they going to cover it? And even though it was only 3 of us in there, not knowing it and being put on that spot, that feeling, I was sick. It's like, wow, I just got caught with my pants down. I just got caught unprepared, unknown. And that was when he was like, yo, you need to know this stuff. He's like, I remember Drew, my boy Drew. He's like, Drew is 1 play away. Keith, you're 2 plays away. You need to know this stuff. And so imagine Shadeur going into a meeting where they say he was wearing heavy cologne. There was another report that he took a FaceTime call in a meeting. Imagine going into a meeting with Brian Daboll, who knows offense and defense inside out. And we saw how he quizzed Jaden Daniels. We saw how he quizzed Drake May. And Shadeur Sanders, just even his tone and the way he speaks is not that like sharp and confident. And if you don't know, right, if the Giants gave you a book of plays and like a install, and you didn't memorize it, and you didn't come down with it, and you didn't perform well there, you blew it. You blew it. But meanwhile, Jackson Dart, we've heard only good things about, and so that's why they went and got him, and it wasn't Shadeur. It's not just a race thing. It is not just a power thing. It is not just a fear thing. There's so many things that popped up. Oh, they scared of a confident black man. No, they're not. Like, the Giants drafted Abdul Carter. The first thing he did was ask Lawrence Taylor for his jersey. You know how confident you got to be to ask arguably the best defensive player of all time while he's still living to get on the phone with this man and ask him if you can wear his number? You have to be a psychopath. Like, it isn't so much the confidence. It is the full package of you're Deion Sanders' son. You're not Deion. Like, your level at quarterback is not that level. You know, these scouts and these NFL personnel, these people travel, man. Some of them work in college for a year, then they're in the NFL. Some of them work in the NFL, and they talk. And I try to tell you guys that, like, Shadeur was never just a 5-star guy. He was good. He was tough. He could throw, but he had his dad. His dad has been his coach. That's another thing, too. Your daddy's been your head coach since you were in high school. How are you going to feel with Brian Dable as your head coach ripping you a new one? It's tough. Ralph out in Long Beach, I think he might be awake. Let's see. Ralph. All good, man. You're in there. Talk to us.
Yeah, so the Giant fan for 50 years, and I'm telling my son went to Arizona State. Scatterboo, scatterboo, scatterboo.
Oh, man. It's on. It is on and popping with that kid.
That kid is the answer to the pain. He's the cure for my disease. I love this guy.
Gonna make you forget about Saquon. You're gonna forget all about Saquon this year.
I don't know if I say this kid, when he was 10 years old, he was bouncing off telephone poles. This guy is the answer to the pain. I'm telling you, this dude ran up in Texas. He told me that Texas line. I love this guy. I love the draft. I love your show. Yeah, took a little nap being 70 and hit the boardwalk. But I love Scatterboo. My son, I've seen a couple times at Arizona State. The kid is the real deal. His heart is there. You have heart, you got everything. And you know that being an athlete. I just think this kid is a steal.
Yeah. He's gonna put in the work. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do anything besides lift weights and run the football, man. And you need that. You need he's a lunch pail guy. I think he's gonna fit in here. I think Giants fans are gonna love him. Like I said, I think he is. You bring him in the second half. I might not even give him any first half carries. I'm keeping him fresh to close games, to kill the clock, to move the chains. When people don't want to tackle anymore, you're gonna hear them in there like boo or scat or whatever they end up chanting for this guy as he's running people over.
He is going to run people over. Remember when we had the two running backs? What was the kid from Marshall we had? You know,
Brandon, Ahmad Bradshaw.
That was lightning and thunder. I say go with that again. And Bradshaw, he would go down, the little kid from Marshall. And I think we could do it. I'd say Tracy get his fumbles down. I love this guy. I'm going to be buying a Scatterboo shirt because I'm telling you, this guy is the answer. I just love it. And your show is fantastic. The way you get your knowledge. And one day at a time. Here we go. Let's go.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the compliment. And I'm happy for Giants fans because it feels like you've been in darkness for so long. And just knowing that you have some kids like this in the building, some different kind of people in the building, and now you're really turning the page. Like, this is Shane and Dable's team. Like, you have lost a lot of the Gettleman pieces, and it took some years to get away from mistakes that Gettleman made in the draft. They're not picking up Evan Neal's fifth option, and you know they have enough offensive line depth. They better figure that out. And this defense, Shane Bowen, year 2, you better have these guys rushing the passer again, leading the league in sacks. Like, their calling cards got to be up front that they are going to hit people. Josh is in Passaic on the Fan next. You got it, Josh.
Yo, Keith, what's poppin', my guy?
You know, talking the talk. I feel like I am in a unique position to talk these kind of talks, and that's why I share my own playing experience and my knowledge as a fan, and I try and bring it all together to articulate like what I really think about everything, and I hope that people understand.
Of course. Anyway, a few things around the draft, and like if you were saying, like, but what people say sometimes you just gotta laugh at, like racism, like the Giants' first pick for the guy that's black. And like, look around the league, like if we're saying racism, it's like talking about the wrong sport. Like, how many white quarterbacks?
You know what it is, Josh, and I've talked to a lot of black people about it, and family members and friends. I said it's not that low level racism of like we're not picking a black player. Like, why was Warren Moon not drafted? That was racism. The NFL wasn't ready for a black quarterback when Warren Moon could have come into the league and lit the league up. That was racism. I had him on WFAN. I got to talk to him. He blazed a trail. Shadeur Sanders, it's low-level racism, but what it is in the grand scheme is black people raising up Deion Sanders, Shadeur Sanders, Shiloh, Travis Hunter, right? Like I said, there are black people watching the University of Colorado all year, myself included. They became like this black university, black Twitter tweeting about them. All these rappers going out there from BX the Plug, to Boss Man D-Lo, to Lil Wayne, to Cam and Mace. It became this like black college football mecca. And so there are some black people, and I don't speak for all black people, but there are some black people that are following the story and they feel like, damn, no matter what you do, as a black man in America, you could be so successful. You could be Deion. You could have Deion's kids. You could do what they did. And there's still somebody that's going to stop you. That's going to bar you to entry. That's going to say, nah, like not over here. Or you can't do what you think you do. Or your power is not working here. Like it's that level of racism that it felt like. But when you actually shrink it down, and I just was doing this in the chat, shrink it down to the amount of teams that needed quarterbacks. Shrink it down to the amount of teams that took quarterbacks. Don't look at it as an entire league colluding. There's a lot of teams that he was never on their draft board. They've got 3 quarterbacks on the roster. There's a lot of teams that were never interested. They scouted him and they said, we don't like his style. He's not going to fit our system. There's a lot of teams that said, we don't want the media circus. It wasn't about like black and white. There's so many other things that had to do with it than black white stuff at that minor level of idiotic racism of people not liking someone because they're black. It's not that.
Yeah, something was like hockey or something, and there's some crazy talented black player and you get picked. You want to say because there's not such black players there, but like look around the NFL and like Dable and Joe Shadeur, they're job hungry right now. They're trying to keep their jobs. Why would they let that get in the way of them trying to keep?
If Shadeur was good enough, if his tape was good enough, and if his approach at the combine and these meetings were good enough, they would have taken him. Because honestly, him being famous already, rich already, coming to New York, that part wouldn't faze him, right? They would take him, but it did not match. And that is why if you take anything from my statements about Shadeur Sanders and why he fell and Deion Sanders and why he fell, they were too confident. They overplayed their hand for the talent that this kid had or doesn't have. If he was coming in as Jaden Daniels, you got it. He ain't Jaden Daniels, though. Like, that's the thing. You can't be so confident. You can't stand on that mic and say, don't get me. You told the league that if they don't, like don't tell somebody don't get you. It's a job interview. Don't tell anybody what you are and what you aren't. And don't try and play games like Deion said, oh, yeah, there's some teams that we're going to not. You think people don't listen to all that? They listen to everything, bro. There are people studying him and Cam Ward as they were working out together. He's saying to Cam Ward, yo, let's make a song. Cam Ward said, I don't make songs. He said, you don't have any other hobbies? No. When they looked me up, I wanted to say Cam Ward, American football. Laser focus on, I'm a quarterback. I play football. Shadeur, he's a model. He's a rapper. He's this, he's that. And he also plays football because that's a family business.
And this also shows you why the NFL is king versus, let's say, sport like the NBA, why it's starting to die down. You'll ask people that have watching it for years, what's gone wrong with NBA look at viewership, it's been declining for the last decade. And they'll tell you is that the leagues become run by players. And when it's run by players, it's just dumb. You can have a team that's built up nice traits for a big player, and the guy decides one day he's not down for the team anymore. They don't even have to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's a
game something happened, then he's like, get me out. Now look at the NFL. And you look at Shadeur Sanders and Deion Sanders, they're trying to move things around. They're like, let's
yes.
the show here, and they did it. And this shows you why the NFL is king and basketball is declining.
Because there has to be structure. There has to be hierarchy. And like, who was it? It was McNair who passed, who used to run the Texans. He got a lot of flack for saying not letting the inmates run the asylum. And people thought he meant it as like a slave type thing, like a slave master and slave owner. No, what he's saying is, this is my property. This is my team. Nobody's coming in here bigger than me, telling me what to do, telling me what players to sign and draft and trade or how we're going to do things. I own this. There are no black owners in the NFL. There are a few black GMs. There's a handful of black head coaches. So that is when people start to talk racism about, oh, like they're not letting them in. No, they let them in. But it's like you can't come in and be bigger than your teammates, your coach, the GM, and the franchise. Humble yourself or you'll get humbled. And this was an exercise in humbling TF out of them. They humbled them to the point where it went from must be the money, all this glitz and glam night one to, oh, well, we'll get him tomorrow. He'll be the first pick in the draft tomorrow to, damn, Friday, Saturday, and the whole world talking about him. People actually feeling bad for him. They're starting campaigns where his fans and people that are finding Shadeur are only buying his merch. He's making more money off this. Shadeur does not have to play in the NFL. And I give him credit for it, right? He could have just laid up with his dad's money, but he chose to play football and he chose to play the hardest position. And I think they just got a little ahead of their skis. And the NFL showed you that, like, you have power, yes. NIL made you money, yes. But if you're entering the Shield, if you're entering this league, tone it down a little bit, right? You want to be drafted. It is a privilege to be in the NFL. We have to choose you. Everybody doesn't get picked. And you are not that good where we should be lining up for you and you could tell us don't pick you or whatever. Like, it's just not like that. Like, and they learned a tough lesson. And that's why I said, I don't know how I didn't see it. I didn't know how I didn't see the NFL script playing out. Shadeur was the perfect one to get people to watch this whole damn draft. He was the perfect one to show that, like, yeah, outside of the NFL, you're a millionaire. Outside of the NFL, you got millions of followers. You did a lot. But what you haven't done anything here. You haven't done anything in the NFL yet. Tone it down.
And more proof to what I'm saying, and that you're saying is that how weird would it be if you saw some quarterback on the team request a trade like that? You'd be like, "What is going on?"
It becomes a circus when Colin Kaepernick had some teams once it cooled off that were going to bring it in, but it's not worth it. Your backup quarterback should not be, when the media scrum happens, your fourth string, third string quarterback shouldn't have a bunch of people talking to him, but they're going to talk to him because he's the story. They're going to talk to him because he's getting clicks, because he's already a star. Sometimes it's too much to manage. These teams have to win. If he isn't coming in and adding to the team to help them win, what is he adding? A lot of extra nonsense.
And then one quick thing before I go to the Mets. With the NBA, I still find every time they put up an article like, oh, we missed this foul call, we missed this foul call. Like, enough, like, you can go at the game like the guy in the Pacers did last year, or one of the teams that they played, and found 80 calls. Like, we don't need NBA for that. Go spend time with plays. We do call a foul, it's not a foul. Because it seems everything, any play that ever happened is all the foul stuff. But looking first at my Mets, kids, it's crazy. This guy, Griffin Canning, it literally grew him in the system. I never heard of that.
They changed him. I heard him. I seen him with the Angels. The Yankees hit him, and
pitching lab. That's what he is right now. And every jam, this guy becomes like Superman, like closer. It's nuts. Man, but listen, we'll enjoy it. Thanks for taking my call. Have a great night.
Thanks for calling, Josh. We got to break it down, and hopefully we can break it down, come back, and I can take all of these calls. Keith McPherson on the Fan. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. We'll be back right after this. Joe is from Ocean Township. You think Kenny's just a camp arm, competition out of all the QBs on the roster there? I feel like he's not. I feel like he's the most expendable. I don't know what kind of deal he has or what they gave up for him. Unless they throw Gabriel into the practice squad, there's not a scout GM coach that is going to put their livelihood on the line for him. Facts. I know for a fact that tape of the Colorado workout, the co-workout with Ward opened up a lot of eyes about Sanders' mentality. Yeah, he was not competing. Cam Ward was always competing, always pushing. Bro, I've been in this situation. I went to JMU knowing that there was a kid in my class whose dad played quarterback at JMU. He had such a leg up on me, but I competed with him when I was faster than him. So anytime at the end of the practice we ran sprints, I had to beat him. And when we got into the scrimmage, at first to start off we would rotate. My allergies always got my nose itching. At first to start off we would rotate, And shout out to Drew, because Drew was part of the JMU team that went on to beat Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, and I was so proud of him and Jamal Sullivan, and my boy Griff Yancey and my dude Marcus, my man Rock, like all these kids that I played with at JMU. I watched them go to Virginia Tech and win it. But like, I went to a school knowing I want to go to school, but this kid's dad, his name is literally up on the wall. It's going to be tough. And he beat me out, but every day was a competition. And my coach was like, you two got to compete. You got to compete. Everything. You know what they say about Jackson Dart? He wants to beat you at pickleball, right? He learned how to play pickleball because Lane Kiffin started playing. And at first he wasn't good. And then he learned how to play and he started kicking Lane Kiffin's ass. He wants to beat you at everything. They want people that are going to compete and that aren't going to be okay with losing or half-assing it. And like, there's a video where Cam Ward is calling him out. He's like, we're throwing comebacks. And instead of really throwing it, you lofting it. You know what the comeback route is? The comeback route is about 17 yards dependent, and then you come back towards the sideline, right? You start off at the top of the route, boom, and then you come back down towards the sideline. As a quarterback, you were taught to put that ball, boom, on a line, not to throw it out there. Cam Ward called him out. He's like, you're not really throwing it. Did you get better today? You didn't get better today. I got better today. I watched all them videos, bro. Shout out to Cam Ward. Denver offered Cap a deal after all that smoke cleared. Cap turned it down. Because honestly, Cap got too big. Cap made plenty money. He made more money being blackballed and collusion than he would have made in the league. Roster spots in the NFL are very valuable. Facts. You only get 53 of them. And a lot of these quarterbacks, you can't take them off the field. And the quarterback 2 is supposed to be like a film guy, a practice guy. So your quarterback 1, your QB1, is a guy that you want to play all 17 games if possible, be the face of your franchise. Your QB2 is, if there's an emergency, knows the playbook and is ready to play, has some game experience. But for the most part, that guy is a meeting room practice field guy. 2003 and 2004 draft, 6 out of the 9 first QBs were black. Shadeur is a problem and is diluting the race card. It's just like, I won't even say he's diluting the race card. I just think we got to look at other things. That's why I use the example of Tim Anderson and Brian Flores. I had shows where I'm like, yo, Tim Anderson called himself Jackie Robinson. Y'all are saying Josh Donaldson is racist for calling him something he called himself? That doesn't make any sense. He's the one that planted the seed, put it out there. And then with Brian Flores, Vikings GM name. Kwesi Adolfo Mensah. With Brian Flores, I remember saying, Brian Flores was in Minnesota with a black GM. Or no, he was, but it was the Dolphins GM. Chris Greer. And I remember saying, yo, is it a black thing? Is it a race thing? Because Chris Greer didn't like his ass. We sent a cornerback to JMU and ended up winning a national championship. What was that? 2016? I forget when they won it. And if you don't know, now you know it was all a dream. You know, shout out to the 8 players on Deion's Colorado Buffalo team last year that did get drafted, right? Deion helped put a lot of those kids in the NFL, and that was their dream, right? They come to play under an NFL Hall of Famer and they go to the NFL. Something I will say too, another thing about, like, it's not a race thing. It's not even a talent thing. It's a whole package presentation thing. The school with the most drafted wide receivers wasn't Ohio State, wasn't Georgia, wasn't Alabama, wasn't USC, Clemson, none of that. The school with the most drafted wide receivers, that means all of these teams that drafted these wide receivers They watched Colorado film, and they watched Shadeur Sanders throw these wide receivers the ball. Let's go to Tony in Montreal and the fan. What's up, Tony? You too. I'm good.
We're talking about Shadeur, right? And you hit it on the head. The PIL contracts that he made millions of dollars, and he has a lot of money. He never has to play any sports whatsoever. I'm sure when you were playing quarterback for the college teams you were playing for, and when I was playing NCAA hockey, I would have loved to have that opportunity to make $10,000 in a year. I would have been so happy. But these guys are playing for $1.9 million in college. So,
yeah. 10,000 would have been great, but these kids are cashing millions.
Bro, if I would have made $10,000, I would have paid for my school for a year. I would have been so happy. My dad would have loved me, you know. But I just want to talk about what you're talking about, the low grade kind of racism versus the petulant and let's say divisive, like 1950s Brown versus Board of Education, segregation, racism. There's a large degree of difference, okay? And I just want to mention one thing about racism in sports, okay? You know, I'm a hockey guy. I played hockey. I played in the U.S. I played in Canada, and I recruit. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for speed and size. And I don't care where they come from. I don't care what color they are. They have to have speed and size. Everything else we can manage. But when people say to you, Keith, that, or someone says in New York media or national media that it was collusion, it was racism, and it was this type of racism, I don't believe so. Because if you look at black versus white athletes in the first round of the NFL draft, 26 out of 32 athletes, 81.5% were black athletes. Now, this is not a racist thing. This is those talented players. I watched the draft. I read about each one of those players because I was interested in Shadeur. And I'm saying to myself, well, this is a great athlete. He's like the number one defensive lineman in the entire country. And he played at this school in the SEC, where this is a powerhouse school for defense. And then you get one after another of amazing defensive players. And in football, defense wins. And I mean, in hockey, in the playoffs, defense wins. And I look at what you've been saying, and I've been following this with different types of deals. Look, we talked about Tyler Shuck. Remember, I called you a long time ago. I said, and you said it's too early for the draft. But I mentioned Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
And you said 6'5", 219, and he was rated back then at 84%. Jackson Dart was 6'2", 215 at 87%. Cam Ward was 6'2", 219 at 92%. But in the quarterback ratings, Shadeur was down at 75.5. Now, you may say, like you said, he may not be all of what he thinks he is. And I love what you said. Be humble or be humbled. And let me tell you something. Deion Sanders is one of the greatest athletes. I said this to you, an icon athlete. But that doesn't mean because your dad is an icon, you are an icon. You got to prove it on the field. And a little bit of humility goes a long way, especially when you walk into the Giants. They give you a pre-draft program and say, listen, you got to tell me what's in this book. I want to see what your retention level is. They do that in hockey. They do that in the NHL draft. If you come in there with headphones on and you're like taking calls, it gets around the league. And you're right. There was not 32 teams after one quarterback. There may be 6 or 7. But the thing is, why would you destroy yourself? Why would you burn yourself? You gave up $44 million when you dropped out of 1, 2, 3. The top draft choice out of the NFL got $48 million. The second one was $44 million, and it drops by $4 million per draft choice, right? So you end up with $979,000 a year versus your receiver who ends up being second, okay, and he gets $44 million. And I think you're right. When you have a helicopter dad that's coaching you in high school football, then at one university, then another, I think the NFL looks at that and says, maybe you're not as good as that you're all made out to be. What do you think, Keith?
Yeah, of course, because you always have protection. Thanks for the call, Tony. You always are protected by your dad. Your dad is meeting the media. He's never throwing you under the bus. Your dad is bringing in Pat Shurmur to run the offense and try and get you pro ready and make sure you're good there. They don't know if you can actually take real coaching. There's so many red flags. It's so simple. His talent did not match his bravado. But we live in a time, and this is something I'm worried about for my own son, because I see through it. I used to work in social media. We live in a time where people think they are what social media says they are. There is real life, and there is this virtual reality fake life. Because he has 2.4 million followers, because all of these people are pulling up saying you're the best quarterback in the draft. Even like the Mel Kipers, and I think like Skip Bayless was like, oh, they made a mistake taking Cam Ward number 1. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Because Cam Ward is laser focused on football. Cam Ward, and I didn't like this too because I think this is racism, but a lot of people are talking about Cam Ward came in with a modest chain. Cam Ward has a big-ass chain. I actually clipped it from my notes, but I didn't like the racism of like, some people don't want to see you be too flashy, black man. Turn it down a little bit. We get it. Can't look how Cam Ward presented. One little small chain and just a pin for his alma mater. Meanwhile, Shadeur had the big icy pendant. And then I look at Complex Sports today, and it says Shadeur wasn't the only player in 2025 to tap in with Taji diamonds. And Cam Ward had a custom CW piece, a huge CW diamond encrusted piece. But you know what? He chose not to wear it on the world stage. He chose not to flex, even knowing he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. He chose to be modest. He chose to be humble. And, Dion and Shadeur, they're God-fearing men. They speak a lot about God and it being God's plan. Shadeur spoke to his draft party, and the first thing he said was, we all know this wasn't supposed to happen. Do we? Do we all know this was? He's like, but it's God's plan. And I bought into it too. Like, yeah, God has a plan for you. But God's plan wasn't for you to lose all that money. God's plan wasn't for you to be made an example of. But now it's in your hand. God prepares us for all the battles and struggles and things that we go through. So let's see if Shadeur really wants to be a football player, if he really wants to be an NFL quarterback. He's got one of the top selling jerseys already. I saw trending. New Browns quarterback Shadeur Sanders jersey is the first jersey that pops up on NFL Shop. Of course it is. And his little graphic is the first thing that pops because he is polarizing. He is what social media says he is. But I'm telling you, once you get on that field, the Instagram followers don't come with you. Daddy can't come with you now either, but he's going to come with him. Dion's his agent. And they said, Dion already said, yeah, he's coming to Cleveland to see what the plan is for his son. Don't let him go. You're not helping anymore. You helped and you did. And I understand being a father and wanting to help your kid. There's nothing left to do. He's in the NFL. And they don't want you hovering over their franchises, undermining them. Even the thought about, wherever Shadeur goes, that team in the later rounds is going to draft Shiloh. And then if their coach sucks in a year, Dion's coming in. Like, it was preposterous. All the narratives and things that got made up and put out there. This is the NFL. This is the biggest league in this country. They print money. All of these owners got money. And all of these guys want to keep their jobs as GMs and head coaches in the NFL. They're not signing up for a player that doesn't grade out as all time. They're not signing up for a player that doesn't have the speed and the other intangibles, but comes with all of this other stuff. And again, Shadeur is a good kid. He doesn't have the sexual assault like Isaiah Bond, who went undrafted, right? Because Howie Roseman came out, I think, was he at the Super Bowl? He was somewhere where he said, if a guy has something like that on his resume, we don't even entertain him. And good. But we've seen crazier stories of guys dropping for, I don't know, a gas mask on their face. We've seen guys drop. We've seen Jalen Carter drop only to 10 because he was in a race where someone lost their life. If you have the talent, they will overlook a lot of things. But this was the perfect storm. This was the perfect storm of a guy that had enough talent to be a top prospect, but free fall because it wasn't a draft where a lot of teams needed quarterbacks. And because of Deion Sanders and the presentation, they overplayed their hand. It's simple. The Deion Sanders effect, it worked at Jackson State. It worked at Colorado. And Shadeur came in telling these guys, like, if you don't want to change the culture, history repeats itself. I did it at Jackson State. I did it at Colorado. That is amateur hour. This is the NFL. Let's go to Berkeley, California, and talk to Ahmad. What's up, Ahmad? You're on the fan.
Hey, Keith, thanks for taking the call, man. First things first, I appreciate the show. I've been listening to you only the last few months, but best of luck, man. You're great.
Thank you.
I just wanted to talk about the Giants in general, a couple of things about the NFL. Like, one person I think we should give props to is John Mara. I mean, towards the end of last year, I was actually really worried. I thought they were going to kind of listen to the fan base because for the most part, people wanted to get rid of Shane and Dable, and I really wanted them to stick with them. You know, I was a firm believer that they were still dealing with all the Gettleman stuff. I think people underestimate how much Gettleman destroyed this organization for those years. So I wanted to give Mara props. He doesn't get much of that.
I wouldn't give him props yet because they still got to go out there and win.
It's true. But I mean, they could have fired them last year, and kind of who knows where we would be right now. You know.
Yeah, I always say, like, you can give them a little pat on the back, like, good job so far, good draft.
Yeah. Let's do that. So a second thing though for me, amongst all this talk about racism, yada yada yada, I kind of get lost in it. Is me and my family's Muslim, and I have a 3-year-old son, so I wanted to give Abdul Carter props, the first ever Muslim to be drafted top 3 in the NFL. That's big for representation for my son and just for Muslims in general. I think that's a great positive thing. So I wanted to give Abdul and his family props for that. It was great seeing them on draft night dressed up in their Muslim garb.
Yes.
That was great for me and my family. And one last thing, man, just about the racism. I mean, with Shadeur, I think, we deal in extremes a lot now in this country. And like anyone that's saying that racism wasn't involved, I mean, this is the NFL where they have to implement Rooney rules to just even get people to be interviewed in this league. So like,
no, you can't take it out. And I heard a lot of different radio hosts and people try to say, well, get out of here. That's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's a higher level racism than the low level black and white. These are powerful black men that a lot of these owners and people in the NFL decided to show them, you're powerless over here.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. So that's pretty much all I wanted to get off my chest, you know. I appreciate you taking the call, Keith. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Last call of the night goes to Epi in Neptune. Epi, you're on the fan.
Hey, Keith, I'm a big fan of yours. Big fan. You're my favorite host on the fan. I feel like, we met before, but basically, we'll talk about the Mets. Basically, let's talk about Soto. I mean, Soto, he shined under the Yankees because that was the greatest stage. He played with Judge. He played with some great players, and that was the greatest stage in all baseball. And then you give him all this money. You give him all the money, the most money in sports. Not only in baseball, in sports for a player. He's too comfortable. He's way too comfortable. He doesn't care anymore. He's not trying hard. I can tell he doesn't care anymore. So the thing is that they paid him way too much money, basically, and he's playing with some great players, Alonso and Yantos and Nimmo. They're stepping up. The Mets are winning. The Mets have a great record. I was waiting for Soto to really become the best player in baseball.
Get him to the postseason. Get him to games that mean more later in the season. Get him to Sunday Night Baseball. Get him to matchups against the Yankees in the Subway Series. Like, thanks for the call. You got the guy that has a slow heartbeat when it is prime time, right? You said he shined on the biggest stage. They ain't been on a big stage yet. They've been to Marlins Park. They've been to Nationals Park. They've been to Target Field. It's the first month of the season. I don't know. I watched every at-bat from Juan Soto. I just think that, like, you have a guy that when everybody else tightens up, when everybody else can't perform, he's the same. So get him to the big stage, get him to the big moments, and then he's worth the big money that you paid him. Thanks for listening to my show. Keith McPherson on the fan. I'll see you tomorrow night, later tonight. All right, yo, that's it, man. Appreciate y'all watching. Had to kick that Shadeur Sanders stuff and everything else, and yeah. I will get home safe. Yeah, exactly. Y'all got 15 years. The first month out of 15 years, not good enough. Not good enough. But that's how we are. Even though The fans didn't pay for it. They need an instant return on investment. Not good enough for me. This guy doesn't want to be here. This guy doesn't want to be a Met. He's not playing the same. All right. Again, thank you for watching. We'll do this again after the Knicks game tomorrow. Well, during maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Probably after, actually, later.